Greetings, 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 TGIF, everybody. What is going on? What is happening? How are you? Glad to have made it to another Friday. May the weekend begin safely for everyone. And I tell you, for Chicago, it was a little scary. We were looking for another storm tonight. Actually, it was up until I think 2 p.m. It didn't happen, so good. Just a little snow, that was it. But it did hit us yesterday. It was supposed to start at noon. It waited about maybe 3 o'clock. And it caused a little, you know, traffic, if you will, on the drive home for most. But um, they're pretty good when it comes down to the shoveling, salting, and getting the roads clean. So that is a plus. But how you doing? How are ya? Hope you guys had a great, fantastic week and ready to enjoy the weekend like myself. I haven't done a lot this week, but I don't know. I'm just tired because I get up early sometimes and do some things, and then if I don't just relax or stretch or something, you get a little stiff and you get a little tired and you want to lay the body down. But I didn't get a chance to do any of those things because I had a lot to do today. And hey, it's okay though. Well, tonight we're going to talk about words. How many of us use them? Words. And that's what I think of when I titled it. I said, everyone uses words. So I think this is going to be interesting. But how are you doing? Just DeAndre, Emmanuel, Lady V in the house. How are you? Sir Obadiah, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. I have questions, and that is why I added that to the name. That's why I changed the title of the channel pretty much, because right now no one is writing in. No one needs any advice from me anyway. Everyone is six figures, perfect, got a pension, high value, and whatever else is the talking point out there. They got it all. So what I'm doing now is asking questions because I'm trying to figure out where you get your income from. Is there a way that I can, tap in and get it too? Do I need another skill, a trade or something? What can I do? Because I want some of that six figures, and it don't even have to be that much. I've said I would work for you. What you got? You need some what? Paperwork filed. You need your record straight. What do you need where I can clear good 3 or 4? I'm not gonna be greedy. 2,500 a month. That's all I'm asking. How about that? Is that much to ask for? No, that's not. So I'm just trying to figure out what people have that can stream all day, panel hop all day, and still pay their rent, still pay the light bill, gas bill, all those things. Because even when you panel hop, you're not actually able to get donations to pay that internet and all of that. So, what are you doing? I've got questions. I've got questions. Please answer them. So we're gonna have a lot of questions tonight. At least I do, and I always do because that's how I am. That's how I learn. You know, I don't hit below the belt. I don't judge you like that. I just find out what it is and then I move along. That's all I need. You might be right, Celine. How you doing? But as far as panel hopping, you don't put your, super chats and all. You can't do that in other people's stuff. So, you know, it's still questionable. Where's this income coming from? They got a check. They used to call it the crazy check. But It can't be that unless maybe they lied or something, or maybe it's a physical disability. Because not, you can't always see a disability, so that could be it. But all I want is the answers. If you answer the questions, I'm happy. I'll know, and I know that I'm not eligible for it, and I'll move on to the next six-figure person so I can figure out who got who and how I can get a part of it. I don't ask for much. I've never been a greedy person. Never. Never. So, like I said, I got questions. Got questions tonight, questions forever, the rest of the year. Let's see who answers them. And it should be an interesting show. That or it's just going to be quiet. One of the two. Because why? People don't like to answer questions. They just don't. I don't know why. If you can talk for 8 hours, why can't you answer questions? According to people, they have all the knowledge. Okay, let me get a direct question in and get that answer so I can learn something that I don't know the answer to. But no, they get quiet on me. Yes, they do. All right, well, that's enough for my introduction. Let's get these questions on. And everyone, you know who we need to greet. We need to stand up and give a round of applause, all those good things, because the wonderful and the lovely and the classic is has arrived. Classic Ruby, everybody. Greetings.
Yes, girl. Yes. You know what I did this week? I unmuted my mic while I was sitting in the backstage. That way I wouldn't struggle this week. You see? I got it.
Oh,
Good golly.
oh,
Right?
I'm getting fancy.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Listen, I figured out I'm never going to be technologically proficient. I'm always going to have that technological disease. So the best defense is a good offense, and my offense is going to be go plan ahead, girl. You unmute yourself from 10 minutes ago. That way, just in case, they might hear something embarrassing if she brings you up before you know, but it's okay because at least you won't be struggling to unmute yourself. You know what I mean? Right? I figure
Yeah.
that's a better move. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay, you got it all together. I like that. I like
Thank you, thank you. I worked hard on that plan. It took me like 4 or 5 days. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. How you feeling tonight, Shar?
it. I'm feeling really good. I would have liked to have a little nap or lay down for a little bit, but I'm energized. I'm ready to get some answers. I don't know if I'm
Mm,
gonna get them, but I'm gonna ask them from now to the end of the year. And I'm just gonna
mm,
see how much information I'll get so I can learn these things. Yeah.
mm. Shar, see, Shar doesn't know how scary she actually is. She
Oh,
doesn't, right? I'm telling y'all, the first time Shar ever asked me a question, and the question would start with, "Hey, Rubes, once the stream's done, can we meet up and just have a quick conversation?" Man, I started sweating buckets. That was the question. The question was, can we meet up? And I'm sitting there sweating. I'm worried. What did I do wrong? I'm gonna get in trouble. Auntie Shara's gonna beat me. I don't know what to do. So then I would get there, right? I'm terrified. I'm asking people, yo, did I do something wrong on the stream? Do y'all see me do something wrong? I don't know. I get there, Shara would just be like, hey, did you catch this? Let me show it to you quick. Like it's just like a random YouTube video clip or something. And I was like, my whole heart was still beating in my chest. Like that wasn't the question. She's good. She's got me. I know. I tell you, Shar's questions are totally normal. Okay. But it's something about Shar. Shar has that presence. Okay. She got that presence. And she's serious and you can't lie to her. And that's why people run from Shar's questions. Because it's easy to not run from like my questions. I'm not really very scary. Or like other people get ignorant with it. Shar doesn't. She doesn't dance around either. She just asks the question she wants the answer to. And she'll just wait patiently while you ramble and stumble and walk in circles. And when you're done, she'll be like, okay, well, that was interesting. It didn't answer my question. The question I was asking, maybe I need to rephrase it. Like she just like so calm. I'm telling y'all, Shar's questions are gonna be amazing and terrifying. I hope for y'all's sake, you're not one she asked a question because it's scary. I'm telling you from personal experience. Just
well,
saying.
it's not. It's real simple. But okay, if you say it's scary, then it's scary. But I just want to know some things. I mean, I don't ask for much. I really don't. I sit back, I listen to see if I can understand what you're saying. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not able to because sometimes the information is coming from the opposite sex. I'm
Mhm.
not a man. Sometimes, what you say, my woman ears don't get. I can't understand it or whatever. So then when I ask a direct question, that's when it gets tricky. That's when they get quiet. And I
Mhm.
always use this one as an example. Get it together. The, the talking point is there's so many women, black women specifically, are aborting children per year. I don't know what the number is. I don't remember. If we want to throw something out there, let's just say 2 billion. I don't know. And they have the number and they said it's all black. Now in my mind I'm thinking who separates, how do they count that? Is it important for them to count it? Where's this study? And okay, if it's out there, fine. Now you have the information, you delivered it. Now my
Mhm.
question is, how many of those children were yours? And no one has answered that question. It's been 3 years. No one has answered that question. I asked people for the last 3 years. No one has answered me in 21, 2020, or 2019. They have never answered me. And I still want to know if you are a man and you're telling me this information, it means something to you. It's important to
Mhm.
you some kind of way.
Oh, I've had two people ever in life, I'm not even kidding, in these whole entire streets tell me that they care about that particular subject because it happened to them. Two.
Oh, that's
We talk to a lot of men
wow.
in these
Okay.
spaces, right? But two. So two men specifically, they were with women. Um, both of them honestly knew that there was an agreement that she weren't ready to be a mom and da 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 da, and what to do. They kind of had, they knew. It's not like they were planning to have kids or whatever, and there was a slip up of some sort. One guy told her about the slip up, the other guy didn't. He just thought it would be okay. And then, when she found out she's pregnant, she made the decision against his, well, no, just have it, and then I'll keep it, and I'll raise it, and all this and all that and whatever, right? Um, two, two of
Mhm.
them. I've never heard anyone else say that, and it's normally not the majority of the people making the argument, right? The majority of the people making that argument are the ones who have experienced a one night stand, getting pregnant, and then tackling them with horrible child support apparently and whatever, right? Like that's their scenario is the opposite problem, where they get kids that they don't want from women they didn't really want to be with, and then now it's problematic. So then my question is, then why are you arguing against the women who choose not to do that to you? I, I
The-
don't know. I feel like you have to pick a
Okay.
lane, right? Pick an argument.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right.
This thing.
Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm,
tonight what I'm focusing on is there's a lot of, chatter in the YouTube streets constantly about Kevin Samuels. I don't
oh.
know, I'm not quite sure why. I have my suspicion, but I cannot really put my finger on it. I can go around and like, is it this? Is it that? In other words, I've got questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the bottom. I've got questions. So, if people have been around, and we have been 2017,
Mm-hmm.
we're familiar with Kevin Samuels. He's been around. He come to the different shows and
Mm-hmm.
talk about different things in the space and all of that. Okay, you know, if you have been around him, you would know and understand that Kevin has a diva inside of him. If you knew that, if you knew and you've been
Yep.
around Kevin Samuels, you would understand that he has a diva inside of him. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing of a surprise to me when people were going around a little angry at him and stuff, talking about he took this and he took that, and he had a little message for people I think a week or two ago, and I'll play the audio of that. And I wasn't surprised. I'm like, again, if you've been around, he has a little diva in him. I'm a diva. And that's just that. If you know, you know. So maybe people, haven't been around and they don't know. So I got to give it to them for that. But
Mm-hmm.
words, they come from, you know, the dictionary. Your parents teach you. School teach you some.
Okay.
There's the thesaurus and concordians, Bible, all over the place. Books, you can find them everywhere. And we all use them. Now, what I've noticed, if you're in different spaces, um, you tend to repeat what you hear.
Mm-hmm.
Just like think about like the talking points, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is I'll give you an example. Now, when I first started a channel, and then when I switched from no, I Zero wanted me to do the Neil sector for women. I did
Yes.
that channel, ended that, didn't get the support, and then went on to my channel. So I introduced myself again. I had mentioned that I came from BGS for Women, and I had mentioned something. I don't know, it was some topic we had or whatever. And I said, BGS has this thing that he says, and I said, I never can remember it. And I probably
Mm-hmm.
won't tonight when I'll try. It's three things. He
Mm-hmm.
says, women have the shame, something, and the need to be right. Yes, there's three things he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it. I said he's the one who said it. And I went on to make my point of what it was. Now, if I mention it a year from now, my question is, do I have to say that's where I heard it from? That's what I want to know. That's my question. Do I have to say it again? And if so, why? Why is it so important? I have to say it again. I don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of stuff is going on around now. People, are just so upset because he has said things that they have said. But do you own words? I mean, how would you really have a conversation? Think about
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, I had grew up in Arkansas, and my mom. Oh, let me stop and shout out my mom because my mom, when she taught me the word mama. So let me shout out her out. Shout out to mama. She taught me the word mama. And then I would, and this, that, and the, oh, let me stop and shout out my third grade teacher because they taught me that prepositional phrase. Shout out Miss Jackson. I got to tell, shout her out. And you would be doing that with everything you say if you went around and give this so-called credit. Now I will say I understand some things, but some things I don't. Those things that I don't, I will ask the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me see what I want to do.
I do think,
Okay, go
on
ahead.
one side, I gotta say, I do agree with you, but there's a caveat there because
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's a difference between speaking about something in general, and acknowledging it as public common knowledge, and then phrasing something like you're the one who coined the terms, right? So, especially if you know you're not the one who brought it, you're not the one who conceived of it, you heard someone else do the research and conceive it, but now you're going to claim it. So I on one side, it's like, no, like most of the things that we talk about in these spaces in general, right? Like even the things that I brought to the space that weren't here before I brought them, I didn't invent them, right? They already existed in the field of psychology. I just, explained them and applied them to certain things, right? And then people learned some stuff from me. If I then heard it 6 months later, and I know I taught you this thing, there was a big long fight, hours and hours and hours, months and months and months, and then all of a sudden 6 months later, I hear you talking about this thing, and you say, "This is what I call it," And that's why I brought this to the space. And then you literally take everything I broke down, including my examples, everything, and you just repeat it and then claim it's yours.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, right, then I hear that. But then the worst part about that, Shar, is not even that you did that. It's then having discussions with other people later on, and they go, yeah, like Shar Willie said in the field of psychology, and then repeat your thing that you taught Shar Willie. And you're like, wait, what? Excuse? Like, it's
Well, let's be honest with that now. If the
Mhm.
person heard it from that person, then they actually are quoting who they heard. And that's why,
Exactly.
exactly. And that's why you got
Mhm.
this big thing with the cheerleaders. Well, they're not cheerleaders, but well, yeah, I guess so, because
They
people are
are.
constantly, Kevin this and Kevin this and Kevin that. And yeah.
Kevin and
Mm.
Kevin and 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 Kevin.
Damn.
Yeah. So it is being said. Yeah. Yeah. It's being said a lot.
It is. Yeah, it's being said a lot. And it's like, on one side, I've got to say, there are some acronyms and stuff. I think he's clever. He made up acronyms. You remember the acronyms and whatever. He didn't invent the concept, but he invented the way to sell the concept that you didn't invent. So I guess he gets to claim the acronym, doesn't he? He came with it, right? Um, but at the same time, you do hear that a lot. And I think that because it's happened to me before, I'm gonna be real. It's happened to me before where someone has told me, well, Kevin says, and then just repeated something I know I brought to the space, right? And I'm like, okay, but now you're trying to tell
Mhm.
me I'm wrong using my words against me. And I'm telling you, you just don't understand what was said. Let me help you, right?
That's funny.
Yeah,
I can see
yeah,
this happening too. No, no, that's
exactly.
not quite right.
No.
No, let me explain to you. See what it is. Yeah, he said that, but see what it really was is blah blah blah. I could see that, and that's funny.
Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah, you know I did that, right? So I'm
Yes.
like, it drives me crazy sometimes to hear people not only bastardize something I know I brought to the space did not exist before me, that I had to fight the space to get them to prove myself. I had to prove it because everyone was telling me no in the arena. They're saying, no, you're wrong. And I proved my point. 6 months later, it's like we never said nothing. Everyone else is claiming it. And then to hear, you know, what kills me about it is that those people are, some of them are complaining now that Kevin stole that from me. I'm like, you stole it from me. You
Oh
know
Lord.
you, you know, like, come on. It's just what it is. Hey, listen, if you didn't make it popular, unfortunately, it's not yours. That's how these things work, unfortunately, right? It's social media. If you didn't make it popular, it's not yours. It
Well,
sucks to be, unless you invented it, for real invented it.
I'm gonna say this with Dark Man Jeff. How you doing tonight, sweetie? I'm going to use that. Um, when Kevin came to the space, he talked about different things as far as what is that thing? It was on the tip of my tongue. Something he wants you to do. He wants you to work
Mm-hmm.
more hours.
Mm,
What is the other thing he mentioned to me? Oh, take different courses and stuff to learn how to do different things.
mm-hmm.
And he said he was spending money that, it costs a lot of money, but he said it was well worth investing in yourself. Now, why no
Mm-hmm.
one is doing that? No one is um, doing that, because that's something you can actually do. But it's so much when it comes down to this. Like I said, I don't even know where to start. But Kevin has had enough of what he was hearing people say in the space, and his inner diva just came out.
I'm a diva.
It is what it is. And like I said, if you're familiar with him, he has it inside of him. So,
Mm-hmm.
also there was Jack Spade. He will be on He's going to join us tonight. He said he's out and about, but he will join us if he can. He is.
Ooh.
I saw something that he wrote in the comment section, and it was so interesting. I'm like, oh wow, that's right.
Mm.
And he had me to, think about this one thing, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. I didn't think of that part of it. So I'm going to mention that. So we're going to play a little bit of this clip, and the
Mm.
questions will start rolling as we go along.
All right.
YouTube is a place where people seem to feel like because they said something or they did something, and because they may have done it first or whatever, it's like people are making intellectual property claims to things that really you can't make intellectual property claims to. Now, we do the best to give credit to things as possible, but when it's all said and done, the stuff we talk about on this channel is stuff that's been talked about in barbershops, basketball courts, locker rooms, golf courses. From time immemorial. Okay, it said we have no internet connection. From time immemorial, okay, guys? So just like Ice Cube said back in the day, in the whole thing, jacking for beats, you can't copyright no beats. You can't copyright no damn ideas. You can't copyright an idea. You can't copyright a talking point. You can't copyright a phrase. What are we talking about? Last
Can we
night,
pause for a second?
when I was talking to the woman on.
Yes.
Because that's actually, yeah, because that's not true. You can actually copyright all of those things, literally. Actually, someone did it. A woman who was the, I can't remember. I'm going to tell y'all where I actually learned this from. So I was watching Kitchen Nightmares, okay? And this woman moved to a place of, I think, was it Boston? It was somewhere where people had one of them accents. It's like that. And I think what they say there that's common is "Hey, hun." And so wherever they say "Hey, hun," everyone says it. It's part of the dialect, the lingo there. It's "Hey, hun," everything's "hun." Well, this woman caught on to the fact that, hun was like this popular thing to say around there, and brought people in. So she started a restaurant named "Hey, hun," right? But then she went and copywrote "Hey, hun." Like literally copyright. Then, and this is where she got everyone to turn against the restaurant. She started sending people cease and desists for using "Hey hun" on anything that they did, magazines, this, that, whatever.
That's
right?
too much. Wow.
Exactly. So it wasn't even her saying, it's not even her city, not even something like she was born and raised with. And then she tried to take the citizens who use the terminology and try to sue them, which she legally could have done. She had a lawyer for it and everything, right? For using their dialect, their lingo that they use on a day-to-day basis. So you can actually copyright these things. Just like copyright an idea. Of course you can copyright an idea. You have to prove that idea has something original, right? Like the whole idea doesn't have to be original, just some part of it has to be original. Like you can't copyright orange juice, right? You can't. You could copyright a version of concentrated orange juice that also gives you the right mix of this, and this, right? Like you can copyright anything, really, as long as you can prove it's original and that no one's done it before you.
Right. I also agree with on that. I know for some things, for what are those? For gaming, there are some phrases and stuff that is copywritten, but this is the question: why don't the people that are going from stream to stream, 6 hours here, after stream, a post stream, a pre stream, come back tomorrow and stream, uh, upload a preview, all of this. Why aren't these people doing so? That was
Exactly.
a great question. And that's my question. Why not? If you have a legal complaint. Isn't that what
Mhm.
people do if they have something? A man, the what I've seen the behavior in the past year of eh, let's play it again.
and Kevin 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 and Kevin.
You would think
Mhm.
someone would do something. If you could do something, why not? All every one of YouTube is six figures. So something would be happening. I understand it is harder to do, but when I haven't heard not one person start. I haven't seen a post, nothing. No one has even started to try. How
No,
interesting is that?
sure. I
Very
think it's the same reason why we forgive people who mercilessly slaughter our children, right? And we feel the need to cry and forgive them and hug them in courtrooms and stuff. It's for the same reason. It's because we actually don't value black anything, and that actually translates to ourselves as well. We don't think that we have inherent value, so we don't think our ideas have that kind of value. And even when we think for a second that one of our ideas or concepts has value, right, we have been conditioned, right, that like we would be wrong to profit from that. Like you're supposed to share that for free, you're supposed to, right? And so it's almost like we get into this place where, unlike the rest of YouTube, for example, when the apocalypse happened, no other creators in YouTube had an issue making money on their content. They were already making it, but no one had an issue swapping to this thing where now people pay Patreon or pay something to help you out. Only the black sector did, right? The black sector
mhm.
felt entitled. I feel entitled to your content. I feel entitled to your hard work. I feel entitled to your ideas, right? And it's we do that to black people. We will say that to black content creators and then go pay some white content creator because we just give inherent value to non-black things and we don't give that same value to our own stuff. So I think that's why it never occurs to us maybe we should copyright our name, our brand, our branding, our sayings, anything, right? It doesn't occur to us that we actually have that kind of value.
Well, it's clearly states, well, I'm not going to say it's clearly because some people they don't read anything, but you know, YouTube is actually a business. It's a branding. You can do your branding and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it clearly states that. But what has happened, people get um, they're able to stream and they have nothing to do, no friends, family, or whatever is going on, lonely, tired, bored, uh, horny, whatever the excuse is, and they go online and just sit there. So no, there's no branding to that. People just do it. What I see is the people, and these, let me see, they're mostly men that I've seen in the space for the past year complain. Nothing has been done. No one has said anything, but yet, they're people, supposedly, and they have not said anything legally. They haven't done anything legally. I can even see if you try to, and then you complain about it. Hey, now you're saying, hey, the system is against us. We do the right thing. We go to court and blah, blah, blah. Hey, that's information. Put that out there. But no one's trying. They're just in their home,
Mm-hmm.
complaining. And the other thing that I see that um, it's only as Kevin gets more attention that these complaints come out.
Of
That's what
course.
I'm finding.
Yeah.
Everything's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Do 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 do. And Nikki, she's winking at y'all. She talked to Kevin. Next thing I know, rawr, rawr, rawr. I couldn't go anywhere on YouTube without, well, let's hit it.
And Kevin 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 and
It just everywhere I went, there it was in the title everywhere. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what in the world? And then the
Right.
next thing, what was the next thing? Future. Oh, that's why I'm using this picture here. in the video. Oh, it really ramped up then. But
Mm-hmm.
um, what I'm going to do is say hello to everyone here, and then we're going to play a little bit more of this video.
Okay.
Greetings, Lady V. How you doing, Vonda? How you
Hey, girl.
doing,
Hey.
DeAndre? How you
Hey,
doing, Jack
Char.
Spade? Welcome,
Hey,
welcome,
Ruby.
welcome.
Sir Petty, Jack Spade, Vonda. Always a pleasure, y'all.
Andre. Hey, Jack. How's everyone?
All right.
How y'all
I'm doing
doing?
good, and I'm gonna shock all y'all.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Okay. Hey, Char and Ruby and Vonda and uh,
Hey, hey,
Spade guy
hey.
here. What's going
Sir Petty,
on?
Sir Petty, what's up?
I feel the petty spirit in my shoulders. I
You
feel it.
do.
Oh Lord. Yeah. You know what,
Uh-oh now.
Ruby? You know what, Ruby?
Hmm.
The lady that did that, she went to Baltimore, right? Because
Oh, it's
yeah,
Baltimore. Yeah, you're right. It
yeah.
is Baltimore.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because you just used to black people from Baltimore talking. So this is that's actually, white people in Baltimore actually talk totally different from us.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, they have it's kind of more of a like a Boston kind of
Yes.
accent. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, they say hey hun a lot and stuff like that. That's when you know they really from Baltimore. Yeah,
There you
they say
go. Okay.
hun. Yeah, we use all the other words like bothering and mother and father. We don't pronounce things correctly. You know, but
Hmm.
you were right, and he said a whole lot of wrong in that whole diatribe. What he was saying,
Hmm.
because actually, Baby from Cash Money said that his worst mistake ever in life um was not copywriting the phrase bling bling.
Right.
Oh.
Somebody beat him to it.
Yep.
Okay.
Someone beat him to it, and when he came out with that song and he wrote the lyrics and he didn't went and go and copyright it, somebody beat him to it, and he had to pay out some money, and that's why they don't really say it no more.
Right.
Okay.
Like pay attention. These big stars. Remember the whole controversy when Jay-Z and Beyonce were trying to copyright and get the rights to anything that had the words Blue Ivy in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like this is you
Yep.
can copyright anything. Anything.
Re-
It's
Remember, was it Michael B. Jordan? He made his rum brand down there. I think in Trinidad Tobago. He called it Juve,
Yeah.
and he copyrighted it, and they had a fit,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
right? Because
mm-hmm.
it's about that festival. But he was like, dude, I got it's a business. There's people that work in the business. It's actually on the island where it starts from. Like, what's the problem? And he's like, well, you own it, so it's appropriation and blah blah blah. Oh, because y'all didn't think of it first. I'd have told them they could have just go suck one.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
He should
saying?
have had an inner diva in him.
Yeah.
Kevin said something else in this inner diva. Let me play it for you. Oh yeah, he did. He's like, oh, I got something for you. That's how he started off with this the thing. When he started off in this show, even though I got another different picture up there, but what he's actually saying is telling everybody to listen. He's tired of complaining, and he said, "I'm so tired of your I ain't crediting you niggas with nothing." And he was bold about it. He just pretty much
Damn.
said, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Ain't nothing you can do about it, and that's it. And pretty much, nope. So far, no one really did anything. So, hey, he just, like I said, he got an M and diva, and people just ignored it or didn't see it. But he was bold last week. He said, "Oh no, I'm tired of all of you. I'm gonna make sure you hear me and you hear me well." But again, as I said, no one's doing anything but doing panels and panels and streams and panels and panel. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got questions. Don't you solve problems? Aren't you guys men? Because I haven't heard any women say anything yet. But I'm like, what are you going to do? Nice complaints, okay, gotcha. But what are you going to do? I would like to go through my timeline and not see a whole thing of, well,
And Kevin, 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 and Kevin.
Yeah, I'm just a little tired of that. But one thing, I don't know. Well, Jack said we're going to be surprised, but I read in the comment sections of a video. I don't know which one it was, and I'm going to paraphrase it, Jack. You said that people are complaining, but this is the same man that they had a problem with. They didn't like. He had no value. He lied about this and that. But now all of a sudden, they value what he says and how he says it. That's pretty much how you said. I'm paraphrasing it. And I'm like, you know what? Jack is right. Which brings me to another question. If that's the case, what is it that you really want? Be honest, because it's got to be something else. It can't just be he said it because I said it. Do you know what I think was it 2.5 years, almost three, um, been around BGS and we were doing that show every Friday. If he was to go live
Mm-hmm.
or go somewhere in Hollywood and say, "Greetings, everyone, TGIF," I'm not going to care about that. Yeah, I say that pretty much every show, but okay, they're just words. Yeah, BGS, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't say, I'm not, why? What am I going to do? And if I did have that attitude, why? That
Mm-hmm.
is the question. What is really the motive? Be honest and just say the motive. Because words
Mm.
are words. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
True.
Well, I
I
think,
think they're just jealous.
yeah, I
Go
think it's
ahead.
more of a matter of, him saying the words, and now, he's gaining a lot of popularity. That's what all the talk is about. It's because he's gaining a lot of popularity. He's doing a lot of different things. So now some people are looking at it like, wow, how did he get to do that? Well, you know what? He stole my talking points. He said the stuff that I said. Now everybody's over there listening to him, but he's not even original with what he said. It's more like, just sit in a corner and pout about it. But my thing is that, you hear all the time, that YouTube is a business. It's a business. And this is how you're running your business. Each channel holder, each subscriber has a channel. And how you choose to use that channel is entirely up to you. Either you play the game or you get played in the game.
Facts.
Okay. So when he says it, it has more credibility. Is that what you're saying? The first person that said it, it was on a scale of 1 to 10, it only carried weight of a 2, and when he says it, it carries weight of a 9. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's where it gets to be. You have a more popular person, using, different talking points and different phrases, may have been something that, you used all the time. And now you're like, oh, they're taking, my stilo, they're taking my style. And I didn't agree with him when he said, oh, you can't copyright. And I'm like, yeah, you can. You can copyright those things. And I'm just saying, if YouTube is your business and, you're serious about your business, you didn't do what was necessary to protect your business.
so
You
I'm
have no
sorry, he's right
recourse.
then.
You have no recourse.
So in turn, he's right. Maybe that's the anger where it comes from. He's right. I can't do anything. But like I said, I'm gonna ask some questions. I'm gonna ask. We're gonna see and we're gonna hear a little bit more and see what we come up with. Here's a little bit more, y'all.
Online. If you watch the video, let's get the likes up, folks. If you watched the video last night, one thing that should have stood out to you, I know it stood out to me, is when I was talking to this woman about dating and relationships and things like that, we got on the subject of, dating and sex. And she brought up the fact that she had gone out with guys and knowingly she was not attracted to them. And she did exactly what that New York Times article talked about. One out of 3 women report going on dates with men that they weren't attracted to. Okay? And I was talking to this woman
That's what she said. She mentioned it full fledged. That hey, yeah, I will go out with the man. I will deal with the man, and I will knowingly not want to be in a relationship with this guy. And you know what? How did she phrase it? She said, "Well, I feel like I'm playing football out here. I'm trying to get his time, attention, resources, and everything else without giving up the goodies." And to her, that's just fine. Why? Because modern women have weaponized one thing. Modern women's weapon of choice is the possibility. The possibility is modern women's weapon of choice. Let's define possibility so we're all on the same page. The possibility. You guys see it? Now, a thing that may happen or be the case. That's the possibility. A thing that may happen or may be the case. That's the possibility. Okay? A state of fact of being likely or possible. A thing that may be chosen or done out of several possible alternatives. But the first one, a thing that may happen. There is no better word. Likelihood, chance of, this, that. There's no better word than possibility.
Oh my, what happened?
I guess that was the end of his words.
Mm-hmm. It's not the total end, but since we're here, now I'm wondering, at what point in modern society was the possibility of sleeping with said woman and it being fantastic not exactly the tool that women have always used? I'm just wondering, right? Because if you think about it, before there was hoe culture, there was, if you want to sleep with that particular girl, if you want to see if those boobs are possibly as amazing as they look under those clothes, right? If you want that possibility, what do? You got to put a ring on it. Got to marry her. If you didn't want to sleep with her, why are you marrying her, right? Asexual people, I bet you, throughout the ages have never gotten married. Because why? They don't want to sleep. Women have always known that that's exactly what it is, right? Smart women. Now, back in the days, it used to be that if you were poor, then you had to use that same thing. Well, people want to sleep with you to be able to make money to feed your family and keep a roof over your heads, or, pay for your illegitimate child or whatever it was, right? But the women who weren't in that position, middle class and above, that's exactly how they got themselves a man. They got themselves a suitor, right? Was through the possibility of being able to sleep with this woman. And you don't know, it might be fantastic, but it might be horrible. She might look amazing with clothes off. She might look terrible, but you don't know, right? It's the possibility. And if you could sell that possibility, the one who looks like it's going to be the best possible deal, that's the one that you're going to choose and marry. And then, now she doesn't have to be single, alone, an old maid, a burden on her parents till she dies, whatever. So I don't really see how it's a modern woman thing, because it just, to me, seems like it's always been the thing, like probably since hunter-gatherer society.
You know what, Ruby? You know what the difference is between modern, and when he's talking about modern, he's talking about, like, let's say late 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when he was born, right around that time, right? Before women, like, okay, men actually do have it easier nowadays than they had it back then, because they had to deal with men, with the possibility of getting sex, right? See, the men were in the way of that, right? And what that means is, look, we can give several points of this, right? Let's talk about Moses, right? We forget about Moses. Moses worked for 7 years almost to get the woman that he saw when he was escaping from Egypt. And then he got the older daughter. And then he had to work another 7 years to get the woman he really wanted, right? The possibility of 7 years of giving the woman that he wanted, right? Because the man stood in the way. The patriarch stood in the way of him getting that woman because he had to put in time and he had to show provisions without getting the goodies, right? See, the woman didn't have that opportunity to make that decision because the man made it for her.
But wait a minute. You mean to tell me this word possibility
Mhm.
has been around for many years?
You
Is
have the
that what you're
poss.
saying?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
let's put it like here, right? Men nowadays complain about women because they have the extreme possibility of not getting the goodies, right? Right? These
Saves my
guys,
soul.
yeah, because see, the difference was now, right? Because a woman's going to tell you because there's no, you don't court anymore. Remember that? Like, men
Yeah.
used to court women, right? But you had to go on a date with a chaperone, right? That means there was another man there to make sure you didn't convince this woman into getting the possibilities of getting the goodies, and she would have the extreme possibility of getting pregnant, and then you would have no choice of having no possibility of not marrying her without a shotgun on your back. Yeah, that worked. These things, these possibilities. The thing that he's basically saying is he's feeding into the trauma of these men not able to compete against other groups of men. See, it's always a possibility. There's a possibility that you may walk outside and get hit by a car. You know what I mean? You mitigate those chances and those possibilities by trying to keep yourself as safe as possible, right? There's a possibility that you go on a job interview, and there's a high possibility if you're not qualified that you're wasting your time and you're not going to get the job. High possibility of that. It's a lot of possibilities, but that doesn't mean you don't try.
Right. Um,
All right, before
Go
I
ahead.
get too far off, I wanted to chime in on the very beginning
Yes.
when you was talking about the abortions.
That was just an example. You don't have to go there.
Oh, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. Since
Oh,
we
okay.
got plenty of time. Since we're working on
Okay.
color people time,
Ah,
so I want folks to remember these three sets of numbers: 400, 95, and 2010.
okay.
Why I mention those numbers? Because I spent $400 for an abortion back in 93. I
Hmm.
spent $95 on a vasectomy. And in 2010, my son graduated from high school, and I didn't have another child to be worried about. Those are not my luckiest of numbers, but hell, they're in the top 10.
Okay, Jack.
I'm just saying, there you go. Right. But now, unlike a lot of people, you're not normally, at least a hypocrite. I guess we'll see. No, I'm kidding. But, a lot of people will turn around and say that, right? I paid
Hmm.
for this girl to have an abortion. I didn't want that kid. Right. And then I paid for a vasectomy because, man, abortions are expensive and I don't want any kids right now. And then they'll stand up on their soapbox, right, and put down Black women for, terminating pregnancies. And it's like, but you paid for one because you wanted the pregnancy to end. I don't understand how this is becoming solely Black women are horrible issue when in most cases, I will have to say, neither party wants the child, right?
But let's look
A
at it
lot of
this way.
times men often pay, from just the personal stories and women I've worked with and whatever, they've often had even the offer when she wanted to keep the child, the offer to pay for one, right? So it's incredibly hypocritical for you to have wanted a termination, for you to have paid for terminations in your past, and then for you to be criticizing the women who are currently making the same choice, probably for the same reasons that you made that choice. You see what I'm saying? It's very
But
hypocritical.
my wheels spin a tad bit different than the folks in the manosphere.
Hmm.
Okay, so that was that
No.
point. Now,
Okay.
giving people credit. Now, I have an upload called "What is a Successful Man." At the very beginning, I gave credit to Jason Black because I mentioned on there I got the idea from Jason Black. Now, this premise is going to actually tie into something else. But what I ended up doing was I said on there, these are his tenets, but there's certain parts in here I'm going to take it in a much deeper perspective. I had an upload called success, just the word success. And even then, inside of that upload, I had mentioned that there was an older Jewish man that I knew back when I used to live in Savannah. Some of the advice that he gave me is actually mixed in with the building blocks of success that I did two versions of that. So a lot of times it's not so much the thing of you using somebody else's idea. Sometimes you just need to have a little bit of creativity and either take it in a different direction or just change it up a little bit. Now, here's the
Uh-huh.
next part. So we have a former member of the Manosphere who jacked a creative creation that I just did. I'm not going to say the young man's name, but
Okay.
yeah, he's a former member of the Manosphere. So I just did a upload called "Damn Damn Damn," and I think I uploaded it maybe about 3 days ago, something like that. So I just happened to be on YouTube today, and I see the little notification thing on there, not the notification, the recommendation. So I looked on there. I saw Black Girl Magic. I'm like, okay, that's a coincidence since I had Black Girl Magic in my damn 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 upload. So I'm like, I don't worry too much about it. So I'm at the restaurant because I'm down in Savannah with my son and my granddaughter and my daughter-in-law. That's another story in itself. But I'm down there, so I hop on the phone again and I see the former member of the Manosphere, and I kind of just clicked on there, and a part of my creation is a part of his creation. I says, okay, this is more than a coincidence. So I click on it, and on my thing I have damn, 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 and in his he says damn. I'm like, good lord. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. At
You should
least
have you should have typed in there and say you forgot two of them.
Yeah, short two dams.
Yeah.
nah. I said I'm wait till I get home and I'll come up with something. Something to just take a jab at him. But I'm like, the thing is, and this goes to the Kevin Samuels thing. Um, there's nothing wrong with borrowing somebody's stuff, but if you have some creativity, you can, like I said, you can take that, mix some things up here and there, and then take it in a totally different direction. Which shows that you borrowed it, but you was able to expound on it, left, right. You can flip it around any way you want. Have a little bit of creativity. And one more point.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so
Your comment, if you remember it.
uh,
You remember
uh,
that you typed that you said that this is the same guy that everyone complained about, that he was a fraud, he lied, and some other stuff, and now um, they
yeah,
want to give him credit. You remember kind of typing that?
yeah. But see, here's the deal. I
Okay.
can't talk about the guy because everybody else is talking about him. It's like I can't use it as a talking point no more. Now I got to go pick on somebody like Classic Ruby. Nobody talks about Classic Ruby.
You mean to tell me you keep hearing this?
And Kevin, 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 including the rabbit top. Yeah.
I am
Oh,
so
okay.
digging that yellow and black.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I got an idea for you, right? Because we do this all the time, right? We throw ideas back and forth and bounce them off the wall at each other. So here's an idea, right? Here's an idea. When Kevin was talking to the Britney young lady, right, and he was within
Mhm.
arm's distance of her. When Kevin was talking to Tasha K, within arm's distance of her. When Kevin was talking to Nikki on the internet. When Kevin was talking to Future within arm's distance. I noticed that Kevin could do something that the rest of the manosphere dudes can't do. Have a conversation without somebody going upside of their head. So how about talk about how Kevin conducted himself, whether you liked it or not, and how Tommy couldn't? You can
Well,
talk about that.
Yeah.
they did
Yeah,
talk about
great
that.
observation.
Well, I'm talking
They
about
also
that.
talked
You
about
can talk.
that. Good
No, no,
golly.
no, but he can talk about that, right? Because everybody said that if I was there, I wouldn't do what Kevin did. I would do this, and we saw what Tommy did, what they would do, and then we saw Tommy get smacked upside the head, right, multiple times. So if
Mhm.
if you act like the way that they're poking out their chest, right, then that's
Mhm.
going to happen, and that's why Kevin knows how to conduct himself. Whether I agree with what the man has to say or not,
Mm-hmm.
at least he can sit in another room with other people without offending them to the point where they want to put their hands on
Right, but
Mhm.
see, here's my disagreement on that. YouTube is entertainment. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. If I'm a comedian, I'm gonna show my age here. If I'm a comedian and I'm invited on the Arsenio Hall show, they invite me on to tell jokes. You're not inviting me on there to talk about politics unless Arsenio says let's talk about politics. But even then, he's going to expect me to try to crack some jokes within us talking about politics. So that is how and why Kevin got called on board is because they were really looking for Kevin to
to do
put
what?
on his act.
To do
Mm-hmm.
what? He did put on his
Mhm.
act. See,
Yep.
here's the thing, right? Here's the thing about it, right? Even when Kevin has not changed how he deals with people since he was on Hangouts with BGS.
Mhm.
If he got to a point where he feels like the conversation wasn't going anywhere and he was going to come out of himself, he would leave the panel.
Yep.
Yep, he would
He
Mhm.
bounce.
always does that,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? He's always done that. He has not changed since anything, since the presentation. And that is the reason why these angry, upset, failed gorilla simps are not where they
Mhm.
need to be. Because it's a
Right.
business. And you have to actually sit in front of people face to face. You gotta know who the A and the B side is.
Yeah.
Because we
Mhm.
see it all the time. Matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. Look at Joe Rogan right now. See, that's a perfect example. He's a comedian. He said something years ago, right? They couldn't get him on the misinformation with the quote unquote vaccine. So they went and dug up some stuff, took it out of context from the 80s and the 90s as a
Mm-hmm.
comedian in a comic venue somewhere off a VHS tape that they had to put together to put it out there, and then he couldn't do one of the biggest UFC events they had this year. He had to sit it out. Disney sat him down, right? Because he wouldn't
Mhm.
listen. You got to know who the A and B side is. And if this is a business, then you got to act a certain way. Even though I'm in entertainment, so I know this. I make my
Mhm.
money off of this. Kevin is acting exactly how you're supposed to act. Matter of fact, Tasha K even was going to read him his rights. And when she got in front of him, she didn't. Because the
Mhm.
way that he carried
Carried
himself.
himself. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
All right, so this is my last point on Kevin Samuels. Like I've said on other channels, I have done about 7 uploads on Kevin, and
Mm-hmm.
so what I do with my uploads, I'll do them, I'll set them to the side for a couple of days, I'll come back to them. If they sound petty, I just go ahead and delete them. I've done that with quite a few uploads, which is really why I only have a handful that's on my channel. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the deal with Kevin. Kevin's a 50-some-year-old dude playing catch up. I don't have much respect for him because I'm a 56. I'm 56 years old. Be 57 in April. I've lived my life. The dudes that I know here in Atlanta, 2 of them I went to college with. All of us, we've lived our lives. We're all in our 50s, and we're working on the next stages of our lives.
being grandfathers, um, trying to prepare for our retirement years, and we've
Yeah.
moved on.
Hmm.
Kevin is a dude who squandered his 20s, 30s, 40s trying to be something that his circle of people wouldn't let him be, his fate wouldn't let him be, and now he's 50 years old, 50 some years old playing catch up. If that's the game that he wants to play, then that's the game that he wants to play. If he wants to, jump through hoops to make up for his life, dude, that's that not you, but dude, that's the life that you're always gonna have to live with because there's cats out here. We moved when we needed to move, and now we are where we are at, and we're satisfied.
Also, let
Kevin
me ask.
walks in. Kevin walks into a circle of our kind of dudes. Kevin will either
Mm-hmm,
bypass our circle or
mm-hmm,
be closed mouth because this was
mm-hmm,
back in late 2017. He
mm-hmm.
came on a panel that me, three other guys that I know here in Atlanta was on, and another guy from California. They knew the guy from California. He came.
Right.
They let him on the panel. He started talking that yik yak. I kicked him off the panel. He
Mm-hmm.
came back to another panel that I was on. Same three
Right.
dudes and another guy, trucker. He started
Mm-hmm.
talking that yik yak. We called him on that stuff, and the dude that was hosting the panel kicked him off.
Right.
Real dudes who have lived a life, or at least the fringes of the life that he claims. Now, all of a sudden, that he lived, that he made a point of saying for the longest, he never lived. We don't have any respect for him
Well.
because if you're a G, if you're an OG, if you've lived an honest life, you've got enough to talk about just talking about your life. A dude that was a trucker for 25 years, he's got a lot of stuff to talk about being a trucker. He's got a lot of stuff talking about being a father. He's got a lot of stuff to talk about if he was either married or divorced, that he doesn't have to sit up there and fake being something else.
Well,
If you've lived a life and you're honest about it, you can put out more valuable information speaking your truth than speaking a lie. And that's my final point on that.
I
Okay.
understand that completely, Jack, but unfortunately, a lot of men have not had those experiences. They are playing catch up, and some will never catch up. You know, I joke around just saying that everyone's six figures because that's what they say on YouTube. I know that isn't true. I just roll with the joke, but yeah, it is a joke, but that's what we're
Hmm.
seeing. Even with the men that are talking about the type of women they have and what they want, when women especially over 35, when we hear that, we're just saying, oh, okay, you're never going to get that. Oh, you haven't had any experience. Oh, he must have been reading a magazine. Oh, he's looking at the glossed pages, and we know what we're hearing is not true, but it's not for everyone to call it out. I mean, it's not harming anyone. That's 8 hours or 15 hours of his time he's live streaming about it. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna use a baseball reference, and I'm a pass the mic over for a while. I know I've been
Okay.
long-winded. It was just normally not me, but here's a baseball reference. So a batting average of 283. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not all star numbers, depending on what year, but it's not that bad. But see, here's the problem with a lot of these dudes. They're more. My math might be off. They're more concerned about the I think 717 that they didn't hit than being concerned about the I think I said 283.
Hmm.
Don't concern yourself about what could not have happened. Concern yourself with what you're able to do and what you have accomplished. Like I would joke around, and I've said this on quite a few channels. If you get a guy, he can round up 20 women. Somebody can round him up 20 women. Out of those 20, he might find three that's worth seeing later. He sees those three later within maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. Is down to maybe one or two. After a
Hmm.
month, is down to maybe one or none. and he's going to have to start all over again. That's just the way life is. You know, compatibility is such a fine tooth cog. Yeah, she may have 100 teeth, but if you only got 99, you're going to get that clipping somewhere in that cog. And that's just the way life is. You're not going to get every single woman that you cross. I have not gotten every single woman. I have not gotten every single woman who crossed my path. But there's a reason why. There's a reason why I wasn't supposed to get every single one. I got the ones that I got. And I'm satisfied with that.
Okay. Jack has spoken.
And you know what? I see most men know that inherently. That's not the problem that's being spoke about in that space. The problem is that they're swinging and missing all the time. They're not getting any women. None. Matter of fact, they ain't even allowed to pick up the bat and swing because they're so horrible.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Respectfully, I disagree. They're not swinging.
Can't get right.
Swinging. Yeah. This is the problem. If you don't ever swing, they don't even swing. This is what they do. They don't swing at all. What they do is they watch someone else's story of swinging and missing, right? And then they use that as justification for why instead of ever swinging, they sit on their hands, too scared to do anything, but make up lies in their mind about how this woman would have been horrible anyway. So I guess they probably dodged a bullet. Because honestly, they're completely infantilized. They're completely immobilized, right? And they have zero power. And then you know what? Not for anything, but the incel movement did not start the way that it is now. It was actually started by a woman in Canada. And it wasn't like this. The incel movement was literally to help these people who are too scared to swing develop social skills. So that way they're not too scared to swing, and that they understand in essence that every swing that you're taking is not like, it's not some big epic deal like meeting the damn queen. It's just talking to a new friend. Like you say what's up to some random person on the street. It should kind of feel like that in a way, right? That's acceptable enough. But it's like they don't see it that way. It's like they see every woman, even the ones, and this is what bothers them, even the ones who are 600 pounds, don't take care of themselves, with hair hats that they ain't washed in 3 months, and da-da-da-da-da. Those women, man, they wish to God those women would pursue them. So at least they wouldn't be alone, right? But those women have standards now. That's why we keep hearing about women being delusional and having too high standards. And they make these calculators online that basically say if you have any standards at all whatsoever for Black men, you're delusional. If you want one, yeah. No, I swear to God, I actually tested the parameters. That's what it is.
You know what, Ruby?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do have it.
I'll post it for you. Yeah.
You know what, Vonda? You might want to clutch your pearls, Char, Ruby.
Oh Lord.
I have a very good. I came up with a solution. So you know how they have the Make-A-Wish Foundation when they bring out the little kid, right? You know what I'm saying? They get to throw the baseball. They make the little game up, right? They should have this for these guys.
Oh gosh.
Right? You know what I mean? The Make-A-Whole Foundation, right? You know what I'm saying? They run through the whole thing. You know what I mean? See, and the way you got to do it is they ain't gotta know, right? You know what I mean? Like they get on a date with the chick, right? And she looks all pretty. Somebody else pays for them. It's like sponsor them some respect, some self-esteem, right? Get them out there, right? They don't know it's being paid for, right? We all put together, right, a donation basket, right? And we send the cash app over the OnlyFans and Amazon delivering them something, right? Because it was supposed to be in the mail. I'm like, the master teacher told them back in 2020 it was in the mail. Winter was coming. You know, Astro fans and futons, baby. Astro fans and futons. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it going. See, and that's the problem, right? Because he did come in and talk about how men need to put on some cologne and wash their ass and present themselves better, and everybody called them gay. Like you said, y'all booted them off the panel. Y'all kicked them off the panel.
Yep.
Right? You said it. You booted them off the panel. You kicked them off the panel, right?
All right, well, here's the difference. Here's the deal. The reason why we kicked him off the panel is because that the so-called high-value lifestyle. Now, I live below it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a total of 3 guys I know here in Atlanta. 2 of them went to college with. Those guys, they played in the pros. One played professional football for like 3 years. The other one was in the NBA for 4 years. They just happened to end up, they ended their careers down here. They went ahead and they started their little small business and something and stuff like that. They're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The dude that was out in California, he played football with the guy from here. He only played for a couple of years. And I mean, these guys were like third string, and they finally realized, hey, we ain't gonna have a career here. We might as well go start something else. So those guys have actually lived the so-called high-value lifestyle. I've done well for myself. I was just not 6 figures. But the thing is, I didn't make 6 figures, but I'm cheap with my money, so I was able to live well. That's the reason why I said I only had 1 child, which was beautiful because I was able to save a lot of money, and I only had 1 ex-wife. So the thing is, you know, we did well with our money. So this so-called high-value lifestyle, I have somewhat lived it. They have lived it. So when he came on our panel and started talking all this yik yak, it's like, dude, what you're talking about is not the lifestyle that we live. And when it comes down to Kevin Samuels, a lot of the stuff that he says is not practical. It sounds good. It sounds good to the folks. It sounds good to the folks who have never lived it. But the folks who have lived it, like, dude, that ain't the real damn world.
You know the thing, the high value thing that he was talking about and running his mouth about, right? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't talking about in 2017 and 2018 because I was on panels and channels with him too, right? He wasn't talking about that. He didn't start talking about that until the average at best thing happened.
No, he's been talking about the high value thing for the longest. Only thing was when he started off, his premise was he learned high value from the men that he was consulting. Then all of a sudden, I've said this in a couple of his own uploads. I said I'm waiting to see what happens when you get around 500,000 subs, because I knew once he got close to a million ish. 700,000. He was going to have to change his premise from he learned high value from other people to he was a high value man. And as soon as he got around 700,000 K, then that's when he threw the little extra tenet in there about it's all about working hard and working your way up the ladder. I can't paraphrase it right now. And you know, doing this in corporate America. And the thing about the entertainers and athletes can't be high value. Then when he flipped it around a little bit with him being a YouTube entertainer, now he's made it where as a YouTube entertainer, he can be high value. If that's the case, man, then the athletes, entertainers, actors, singers, they put in the same amount of work. So yes, once they get up to a certain level, they can be high value also.
Let me break in here for 1 second. Jack, I do understand exactly what you're saying. When it comes down to what a person says and what they do, more than likely it's different. I do find that on YouTube. I don't take it seriously because I weigh those things like, oh, they're just saying this, they're just saying that. I agree. He's a little late in life, getting where most men in their 50s are. He's playing catch up. Good for him. It's better than standing still or going backwards. And because he's going forward in any way he can, hook or crook, it don't matter. He's doing better than those that are, saying something.
On the sideline complaining.
Yeah, so I'm taking morality all out of it. I understand what you're saying. However,
the thing is, the more lies you tell, the more you got to be concerned about who's coming to the door to bust you out.
Oh, that's
a personal thing. He got to worry about that.
Right. But like I said, but the thing about it.
Wait. I have a question. In what way? Because I'm going to answer, but first, I want to know in what way should he be concerned based on the lies he tells?
Because he's
Only
down here in
he would
Atlanta.
know. It depends. Only he would know is if
Because
he knows what lies he told.
wait, but
Because
hold
he
on. What did you say?
because he's down here in Atlanta, and the more circles he you're either going to roll in some circles that's going to realize that you ain't what you are, or you're just going to have to create your own little circle. It's going to be a very small circle, and eventually your lie is going to catch up with you.
Okay,
Let
but see
me.
what you're missing, Mr. Spade. No, hold on. I got to address
Yeah,
this.
go ahead.
Mr. Spade,
Mr.
lady,
Spade, what you are missing.
you're almost as old as I am.
No, I'm not. I'm in my 30s, sir. I'm in my mid-30s. I am not almost as old as you. In
Oh,
fact,
that's
you are
close
my
enough.
mother's age.
She's like,
Yeah,
wait a minute. Wait a
you're my
minute.
mama's age, okay? You're my
You
mom's
ain't gotta
age,
make
so
you
no.
ain't gotta make all that public now.
No, I had to. Okay,
If
I'm
I was
young.
her, I
I'm
would have
young
did the
still. I'm
same thing,
young.
Mr. Spade. She's like, wait a minute.
It's the
Wait a
spade.
minute.
It's the spade. God damn. I thought that was
Okay,
respectful there,
Don't be
Ruby.
putting no
That was
decade
what?
really
and a
That's
half
what
on me if
I'm
I
saying.
don't need it.
I'm sorry, y'all, for showing you too much respect. I will try to disrespect you more in the future. Anyways, okay. So what I was saying is this, okay? This man has been lying about his life since day one. And what he has proved from his career on YouTube is you can tell any story about yourself whatsoever. And even when you get called on it, even very publicly, even on massive platforms like Vlad TV, you can just tell more lies to cover up the lies, and people will just accept it if they support the message you are sending. They support what it is that you basically they get to see you and live vicariously through you. And as long as he continues to give them that, nobody cares how much he gets exposed. So many of his lies have literally been exposed, literally, and nobody cared. It didn't slow him down at all. In fact, since a whole massive variety of his lies, some of which still haven't been addressed, but are very obvious based on how he's changed his whole life story. Like, if his life story is the way he says it is now on Vlad TV, then when was he a pimp exactly? I'm still looking for that information. But anyway, right? So with that being said, despite all of the lies being exposed, since then, he's been on Nicki's platform. He's in Future's music video. Like, it hasn't slowed him down. Has not slowed him down at all. And it's not gonna. That's the problem with the internet, is that unless your brand is integrity and virtue and telling the truth, you don't have to be that honest. You
No,
don't.
you don't.
But you know
Yeah.
what? That's the one thing I can say. And I'm not a Kevin fan. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Not
But
at all.
I can say this about him. And at some point, in life, we're saying, he's a Johnny come lately, he's doing things a little, later in life. But you know what? With him right now, he realizes it's do or die. I don't have time for the individual bull mess with that person, or this person. This is my business. This is my brand, and I'm going to work it, and I'm going to get to where I need to get. And it seems to me that those are the choices he's making, cold, hard choices for himself. You're going to have, those people that don't like you. I mean, you could be the most, organized, religious, full of standards type person there ever was. Can always be someone who's going to, find dislike with you or be, not like what you're doing. He's doing what he needs.
What the heck just happened here? Somebody
Sleeping in my bed, baby.
I laugh every time I hear that laugh. I just be like, "Oh gosh."
Oh,
That
sorry.
actually scared me.
Had a
That was
glitch in the
beautiful.
system. Sorry.
We know glitch.
No, he's taking his opportunity. He's doing it now. He's like, I don't have time to, be messing around. And I mean, he's taken a couple of phrases, stole a couple of thoughts over here, apparently.
A little sugar on a little cinnamon, and people are buying it and eating it. So hey.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm like, you know what? It's either that or he could be sitting over there with the other dudes just complaining about every damn thing that crosses in front of the window.
Right, but I'm paraphrasing it because I don't remember the phrase. I don't remember the word for word. What's that thing about? They say be careful about who you screw over on your way up because you're going to meet those people again on your way down.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? We won't even know the depth unless we're one of the people that he's bent over and screwed the hell out of. We won't even know the depth of the people he screwed over. I mean, there's a lot we don't already know.
Well,
you
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this about it, right? And this is where we have to understand some things, right? The last mostly all the presidents, but especially the last president of the United States, we all know was a crook, was a scam artist. He scammed so well that he scammed himself into the White House.
Are we talking about Obama?
No, we talking about Trump.
Okay, so why did you leave out Obama?
I said all the presidents. Pay attention, listen very closely when I'm talking.
Yeah. But still, Obama's not a proven scam artist, whereas Trump is literally a proven scam artist, scammed many people and many different scams before he was ever elected, like Trump University, for example. Something Obama never did.
Trump trolled his way to the White House. That's what he did.
Yeah, but all the presidents have, in some way and form, even the founding of the United States of America was the forefathers reneging on a deal, right? So when they even have the word Hollywood, right? Atlanta is inconsequential to where he's trying to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in Hollywood. Most of the people that in Atlanta was popping when it was talking about entertainment, they have uprooted themselves and they in Hollywood. First, they went from Atlanta to Miami, then they went to Hollywood. The who's who is in Hollywood. Hollywood, that's where they at, right? So he doesn't care, right, about the chitlin circuit because that's not going to pay you long term.
Right.
Okay, that's not going to pay you long term. Okay, you touch the chitlin circuit, right, because you have to. Like, matter of fact, Steve Harvey, Samuel Jackson. If you look at when they jumped off in their 40s, like almost 50. Morgan Freeman didn't jump off until his 50s. Really, he was doing theater for a long time. There's a long list of people that was putting their nose to the grindstone. The thing that he does, I don't agree with a lot that he does, but he does the first thing that you're supposed to do. Do not react. And here's the thing. He says a lot of hypocritical, wrong, whatever you can do. But these dudes contradict themselves every other live stream. At least he goes at least 6 live streams and then contradicts himself.
Right.
Like, how do you show up with no beard, then show up 3 hours later with a full beard and no one says anything?
Facts.
No one says anything. And then they go along with it. And then you flip-flop and finagle. One day you're black, another day you're not. Right? You're black is consequential to you. Right? You know what I'm saying? You even run with a whole phrase, black in name only. Right? But so why are you talking about us when you're black?
Well, I got a question real quick. I got a question on what you mentioned about Steve Harvey and Morgan Freeman. But you got to understand, those guys have been in the grind since their late teens into their early 20s. Same thing with Kevin. Same thing with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is something like a 13, 14. What was the phrase? A 13-year overnight success.
You're a veteran. You mean veteran?
Well, let me put it to you like
those guys has worked their way through the grind and luckily eventually made it to Hollywood.
Okay,
Kevin hasn't put in the only grind Kevin has put in at best is what, 2 years here on the best 2 years he had on YouTube?
Hold on. Stop.
He was around for longer than 2 years.
Yeah, he was almost longer than that. But here's the thing that you don't understand, right? Here's the thing that you don't understand. The dude left Oklahoma, right? He went to New York to do some modeling or whatever he was doing, right? Right? When you start your journey and you put in the work, just because you just knew about him 2 years and putting it in whatever, and guess what? He didn't pop off, and still he's tapping into the trauma bonding of the very space that you represent.
Okay.
See how that works?
He
started
went,
talking about women.
then he went back to Oklahoma, burnt bridges in Dallas and Oklahoma, and then had to come here to Atlanta to so-called work on his image consulting business. And when we found out that every corner has a damn image consultant here, so then you had to jump off of that. Like, dude, if you was doing so great in Oklahoma, why in the hell you gonna leave from where you're popping at to come here to where bigger dogs at? If you're doing great in Oklahoma, then you stay there. Hell, this image
I can answer that.
Only thing you got to do.
I can answer that.
Only thing you got to do with image consultant. Hell, we got damn FaceTime. You do the freaking FaceTime.
Hold on, man.
I can answer that.
Hold on, sir. Let me explain something. Let me explain something to you. All right. First of all, men's clothes don't sell like that. We know this. We're men, right? Okay. All right. He did the shit. It didn't work. He did one video of him going off on a woman that he paid to be on his show. That was a setup. We all know ain't no black woman alive is going to let you talk to her like that in front of an audience or in front of some roaches. She going to give you some too, right? We know this. Ain't no woman alive going to let you talk to her like that, depending on where you're at, what's going on, right?
We're talking about black women. Now we correct.
No. We talking about any woman on the face of the planet. Any woman. I live in a whole nother country. I've dealt with women all over the damn world. Ain't no woman gonna let you talk to them that type of way in front of a group of people or an audience or not, and you're not going to get some type of tune back. Okay, so that woman was paid to be up there to do that. Okay, the first several women were paid to be up there to do that. Okay, it was a dress up thing. They were paid. All right. Now the next thing with that, moving forward from that, what's a better market, Oklahoma or New York when it comes to fashion? I'll wait.
If you do FaceTime, you can do that over the phone.
Listen. Answer the question. What's a better market, Oklahoma or New York when it comes to fashion?
Men's fashion anywhere in the United States.
Okay, you're gonna play stupid. So I'm going to answer.
No, I'm not playing stupid because I own a small amount of clothing.
You own a small amount of clothing, so then you need to lean to the professional, right? Here's the
let's look at it this way. One, because of my lifestyle, I don't need a closet full of suits.
Okay, then
I take that back. Since we don't talk about suits, I have three styles of suits. I have suits. I have suit separates. Right. I have 3 full suits, and I have 1 tuxedo. Because of my lifestyle, I wear more of my suit separates than I do my full suit. Okay. So I don't need a closet. I don't need a closet full of full suits.
So you're just proving my point. You don't know what you're talking about. So let me continue.
How is that?
How is that? If you don't have the suits, right? And if you say it because of your lifestyle, then your experience and knowledge is very minute. So that means, let me finish talking. You don't know what you're talking about.
The reason being is I don't need a whole closet of full suits.
The reason being because
I get more wear out of my suit separates than I do a full suit. There's no sense in me having a closet full of full suits if I don't need to wear them. If I was an attorney, maybe I would need a whole set of full suits. But I am not an attorney. So I spend my money on the clothing that's going to get more wear.
And where are you located?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so what is a better market for fashion? Atlanta, Georgia, Oklahoma, or New York?
Dude, they've got flagship stores all over the United States.
I'm going to say this again. You're not answering the question. I gave you 3 options. Answer one of those options, or none of the above is I don't know. It's okay
As
to
I
be
said,
wrong.
they have flagship stores all over the United States.
You
I
didn't
don't
answer
have,
the question.
and
So I'm
as a
going to
person
answer
who
it for you.
as a person who was born and raised in New York, I understand what
Then why
New
didn't you
York
say New
can
York
do.
is? Then why didn't you
I
say New York is? Why didn't you say New York?
because I don't live in New York anymore. I live in Atlanta.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't
Dude,
changed.
it
Fashion
has
Week is in
changed.
where? Fashion Week starts where? Where does
Dude,
Fashion Week
are you
start?
from dude, are you from New York City?
Dude, I'm from Baltimore, bud, but I live
Oh
near
Jesus
Springfield.
fucking Christ. All right, move on next. Move on next. Please.
No, you didn't answer the question.
Next.
You didn't answer the question.
Next.
Where am I
Answer
at
the
now?
question,
Next.
man. Come on
Answer
now.
the question. Answer the question, old dude. Answer the
What
question.
did I say? I said they have flagship stores all over
You
the
didn't
United
answer
States.
the question. I gave you
You
3
don't have to
options.
live in New York.
I gave
You
you
don't
3
have to
options.
live in New
I
York.
gave you 3 options. Answer the question, old
As
man.
I said, you don't have to live
Answer
in
the
New York to be
question,
able to
old
keep up with
man.
fashion.
Oh, dude, you're not keeping up with fashion. You only got 3 suits. Pick a choice. Pick a struggle.
Well, 3
Pick a
suits.
struggle.
I said 2 full suits.
2 full suits and a tuxedo, right?
And I said I have a closet full of suit separates.
Suit separates. Okay, so you have 2 suits, right? Not a full suit, 2 suits, right? So if it's not a full suit, it's not a suit. So you got 2 suits, right?
You have suit separates, which is considered a suit, and you have a full suit. Now, the reason why I don't need full suits is also because I participate in triathlons. So my weight changes throughout the year. My weight changes
Okay.
quite a
So
time
you don't have
over
a full
several
suit.
years. So if
So you
I'm
don't
going
have
to
a full
spend, so
suit.
if I'm going to spend $1,300 on a full suit, I may only get a couple of wears out of them because of the change of suit and because of the fact that I do get them tailored. So if
Okay.
it's a lot more easier for me just to have the suit separate.
How many suits do you own?
Full or suit separates?
Full suits.
2.
So didn't I just say that? Why are you recorrecting me of something that you said that I'm recanting and telling you?
Because you can have suit separates, which is the
Wait, hold
most
on,
common suit.
guys. What are you arguing about? I don't even know what the point is right now.
I asked them.
This has really gotten off the rails, and I'm not sure what the point is.
No. I asked them pointed questions. Here's the pointed question. You're from New York. Fashion capital of the world is New York City.
This made sense. Your statement would have made sense back in the 70s and back in the 80s.
It still makes sense now.
That's why I said you have flagship stores all throughout the United States. You can still keep up with your fashion.
Okay, can I just add my 2 cents here real quick?
Different parts of the United States.
Here's the thing. That's absolutely true. However, and there is a however right now. To be fair, it's not like Atlanta is, Oklahoma, right? So, it is in there as far as movers, shakers, and whatever. But yes, for example, I know because I was really into the idea of becoming a model or a singer when I was younger. And my sister wanted to follow the same dream a few years ago, right? With the modeling. And so, when you're looking at the places you want to go and the markets you want to hit, number 1 obviously would be New York and LA, right? Like there's nothing above that. It's not that Atlanta is devoid, right? It's just as far as, it's like I want to make it as an actor, right? You could go lots of places to become an actor, but number 1 would be LA first, New York second, right? So it's just kind of like, I feel like you guys are really arguing this point, but I'm not sure what the point of arguing it is, because regardless of whoever's right, what's the point of that? Like, I guess can we move on past this point to the real point?
Yeah, because if someone had mentioned about becoming an actor, yes, you're either if you want to do movies, you go to LA. If you want to do stage, you go to New York.
Why are you arguing this?
We're in a whirlpool, you guys. We're in a whirlpool.
Yes.
Hold on.
Thank
This
you.
is what I was. This was the point that I was trying to make, but he kept deflecting and de-offing and going over here on the
DeAndre,
diatribe.
don't trigger him. No, just move forward.
No,
Move
no,
forward.
no, 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 no. Hey, I got my
DeAndre.
petty. No,
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 I
no. I
know.
got my
We know.
petty.
I'm
I'm in my
move
petty
forward.
mode.
You got it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in it. No, no.
I know, but please, I
Let me
want out of the
waterboard him,
circle.
please.
DeAndre,
Please.
you know
Let me
I don't like
waterboard him.
circles. Please.
No, the circle's about
It's
to
too
be
early
over
for
with.
this much circle. Okay.
Ruby, I'm about to
Go ahead.
You know how I like to play with my food, Ruby. I like to play.
Yes, you do.
Let me play with the food, Ruby. Come on, let me play with them. Now,
What Sharpie Petty? You see the
you know what I'm
picture?
saying? Now,
You see the
here's
picture?
the petty. Hey, it's coming. Now, listen.
Mhm.
The reason I brought that up was because of this. If you are doing theater, if you're into fashion, right, and you are an image consultant, artists have to look a certain way. They have to be looking a certain way. So you would need an image consultant more in LA and New York than in Oklahoma. So you got to go where you can do your thing. You have to travel and find what's going to make you the money. And guess what? Because he's doing this, he's getting next to the artist now. And guess what he's going to become after the fact? He's going to go back to doing his image consulting. He's going to go back to doing his fashion again. See, that's what he came and do. He just used it as a vehicle. The problem is that you guys are so hypocritical over there in that space, is that he was originally brought in by one of your pillars, right?
Okay, what do you mean by what do you mean by y'all? I'm not a part of the manosphere.
Okay, well, that space over there, right? If it doesn't apply to you, then I will apologize. See how I did that as a man? I was wrong, so I apologize.
I saw that.
You don't know how to do that. So I'm going to continue.
I don't.
No. Stop. I'm going to continue. Now, they brought him in. They didn't like what he was saying, because even if they didn't like him saying about dress a certain way or whatever, he was holding them accountable. He was telling them that don't no woman want you sitting on the couch smelling like yesterday's pizza and underarm and musk, right? But second that he started drilling on black women, they start with their pom-poms. They start throwing cash apps at him and super chats. And Kevin is our God, right? The second he did that, but the second he got in front of some black women and act like he had some sense and wasn't flipping tables and acting like a violent gorilla simp, then guess what happened? They switched on him. They flipped on him. They turned on him, right? But then they pick and choose when they want to get behind him or not. He cares not, because he's already gone. Anything that you have to say, just like the great Cluster B said, is like you screaming like an ant with a blow-on on Mount Kilimanjaro. He's gone. He's in the matrix. He's in the system. He's gone. Only thing you niggas can do is just smell the fumes from the sweet masculinity running down the motherfucking aisle, motherfucking cashing in the bank. Whether he did it in his early 20s, 30s, or 40s, or whether he does it now, success comes if you work hard at it. Now, whether he did that, do I agree with how he did it? Not necessarily, but you can't do one thing. You cannot get away from the solution and the outcome. And these dudes been running their mouth since 2012, and they finally did a meetup last year. It took them that long to get out of their mama's basement, put on their granddaddy suit that was sitting in between two mattresses.
Oh no.
They didn't even learn how about dry cleaning.
Oh, Lord.
We saw that manosphere man.
Big Daddy suit.
You know what I'm saying? They over there walking around looking like my 500-pound wife.
Let's be clear, that's the black manosphere.
Yes.
Let's be clear, it's not all manosphere, black manosphere, because a white manosphere, they pulled off the 21 convention, and that was a shiny little affair over there, right? And then
mainstream manosphere.
Yeah, mainstream manosphere did it. So
dude sitting up there with Windows 95 still loading up on laptops with dust on them and shit, right? You got a dude that need to be wheeled in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank on himself, sitting up there and whatever, right? And then here's the thing. I did notice you did say one thing. I was being too petty, so I pulled it down. If it's the truth and it's petty, then stand on your
No, I didn't say. I didn't say nothing about. I didn't say nothing about pulling anything down. I said I'll do uploads. I'll sit on them for a little bit. I said I sit on them for a little bit. I'll come back to them. If it's petty, I don't even upload them. That's what I said. I didn't say I pulled down anything. Because
Well,
if
I think
I
you
put
might have
anything,
phrased it incorrectly.
because if I put up anything on my channel, I have to be able to stand by it. It may be right, it may be wrong, but I'm not like some of these folks. They put up stuff, doing there's a little bit of flack, they pull it down. No, I put it up, I get flack, I'll defend the flack, and I'll explain my position. But that's the difference between me and other people. They just emotionally pop stuff up, and then they want to take it down.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I heard what Dre heard, but I understand, like, because of what you said. Like, as in, I heard it. Like, now that you explained it, I understand how you meant it that way. I heard it as in it literally, like, you released it on your channel for a few days and then took it down. But that's not what you meant, and I can hear that now. So I see where the confusion came in. Like, you record it, but you don't release it. You sit on it and then come back and look at it. And if you still agree with that, that's how you're feeling, then you actually make it public. And if not, then you just delete it off your YouTube channel, basically.
No, I delete off the hard drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do it, and I sit on it. I'm like, yeah, I can roll with this, and then I load it on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. That's reasonable.
Yeah, people,
I've done that quite a few times. There's some people I would have told all the way off. Till to this day, they wouldn't talk to me. Sorry, go ahead, Char.
No, I just roll with the creative flow, but I know the creative flow might be kind of tinted, might be kind of tainted. So instead of me doing all that and then I don't even take stuff down, but hell, I'm putting stuff on. I did it Monday, and now here comes Friday. Man, I'll just mess around. No, If I'm gonna put it up, it's something that I can stand behind. And if it's something that I put up 2-3 years ago, it's like, okay, I still stand by it, or I have a different opinion, and this is the reason why I have a change of opinion.
Jack, remember I said I don't know if you were around in the beginning when Kevin was around, but if you were, you would know he had an inner diva.
I'm a diva.
We're going to welcome Sir Obadiah to the panel. So he
greetings.
Hey, sir.
Oh,
Greetings. Hey, how y'all doing?
Great.
Long time, man. All right.
What you like to add?
I mean, this topic is very interesting. I mean, they love worshiping this man. Then they play a hate on him like players ball, like the advisor said, man, like Dre. I'm just like, man, this is ridiculous. Like, that's why I don't put him in my titles, man. Like, I mean, it's bad enough. I ain't got no issues with him, but it's just the followers. They just, terrible. I don't know who's worse, him or Tommy. It's just, I mean, he's gone to the galaxy at this point. It's just like, everything he said, but I live in the state of Georgia myself. I used to live in Atlanta 12 years. And yes, it's in fashion, but it's not like one of the top 5, like where New York is. I mean, that's a difference. I mean, you got a lot of New Yorkers come down here trying to make it in that ranks, but he's absolutely right. Yeah, New York is still the standard. I mean, I don't care what decade that has and I've seen Suits years, it's still number one because people goes in fashion, even though it has its problems, but it's just like anywhere else. So they're not going to come down here very often. You have to be like a select group. So Kevin understands. He lives in multiple places. He don't just live in one place. So it's like he's like a regular. It ain't nothing. Like anytime I hear the stuff like in public, I rarely hear his talking points come to my neighborhood, but like in other areas, probably so, because he's booming right now. So, but they don't really know that he came from these small circles. So what I learned from him and what people mention, we say off air, like Black Order days, was several people to blame, but you want to blame the main person that hate him the most is obviously with the Annihilator beard. I'm like, hey man, like, look, he's like, I brought him in this space. Well, you to blame for it. Like, and look what he did. He
He did
laughed at
not.
all you. Yeah, yeah. And he laughed at all these men. And what's so funny though? He don't even respond. That's the best thing about him I can respect. He don't even respond to the
Yes.
BS. He just destroys them. He just sits back and let them hang themselves. And that's the best way to do it if you want to
Right.
go on the other side. And that's like, and most people can't stand that. They hate when they get ignored. It's just one of the worst things. And people just start spazzing,
Yeah.
and it's
It just
beautiful,
shows how important
Told y'all.
or not important they are.
right?
Hmm. Yeah. No, you know what? I will say this. Here's the thing. I am not a flip flopper. So I either make no decision at all, or once I've made a decision, I mean, because I'm very analytical, I take my time. Once I've judged someone or I put them in a place or whatever, that doesn't change, right? So my opinion of Kevin Samuels in 2017 is not different than my opinion today. Kevin Samuels could become a multi-billionaire. At no point am I going to work to be in his favor, to try to be in alignment with him, to try to support him individually, because I made my decisions based on who I am and what I stand on, right? And I don't, negotiate that for clout, for attention, for praise, for popularity. I'm not the one. The problem is, I find, and it's something I noticed back in 2017, is the large majority of this space is full of a bunch of posers, and full of a bunch of people who were not popular in high school, but were desperate to be popular. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily they were losers. There were those people who were like desperate to be popular, and they were just like kind of invisible. They weren't losers.
Right,
They just
right, right.
never made it. And so this space is their opportunity to be part of the cool kids table for the first time ever. And I think for a good long time, people were really comfortable with the way things were because it allowed them to have the cool kids table. Sure, there was like 5 or 6 different cool kids tables, but it doesn't matter. The space is very small and you could almost pretend, or if you just didn't look around, honestly think that, yeah, you were at the top of the hill. When I was in one of them groups, right, I thought like this person, right,
Hmm.
the tangerine beard, really was the king of the manosphere, and like him not liking me, that's it. Like I've lost all my friends. I have nowhere else to speak with Black people. Like life is over. I really thought that, right? Because your seriously, your perspective can get very, very small very, very quickly. And but people were happy with that. They
Hmm.
don't like what Kevin Samuels is doing, just like they didn't like what Tommy was doing,
Right.
um, when he started going mainstream, because it starts pulling them out of this little comfortable high school fishbowl that they're really trying to recreate, and starts making them look at it as YouTube as a business, as new people are going to be coming in constantly, as you can't live in your echo chambers anymore, as, blah, 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 blah. You're going to be under actual analysis from outside of the space sources. And they weren't looking for that. So on one side, they get to live vicariously through him, right? And him slashing women left, right, and center. And they get to live vicariously through him. Oh my God, finally our voice is being heard on a public forum. But on the other side, he's seriously disrupting some of these kings of the cool table,
Yeah.
seriously disrupting them because they're no longer the king of the cool table. Some dude who's never
Exactly.
around, who doesn't show up, who doesn't talk to them, is the king of everyone's cool table. And the old now dethroned kings can't take it. They cannot handle it at all.
Of
It's
course.
quite a
Of
sight to
course.
watch.
Of
Right.
Right,
course.
but
It's
the
just
table
it's
that you
just like
but the table
it's
that you're
just like
referring to, but the table that you're referring to don't have any cool kids there.
But let me respond to Ruby's point. You're absolutely correct. No, she's using that is the guys that she referring to, the cool guys, the pillars, like the 4 guys. Like we don't need a name because I grandmaster them other guys, but who cares about them? They're so irrelevant. But you're absolutely right because a lot of people, you could say jealousy, you could say a lot of things, and I don't put my faith in men like that. Those are like idol worship. I try to tell people all the time on my channel, like, dude, you can't follow somebody and he's got personal problems off this shit prior to YouTube, because see, I remember back in the old YouTube days when I came around when I was younger, the original manosphere is like two sides, two shades of black and white, you know, because we had different perspectives. But our problem was we solve our problem from a website. Even though we did real things outside, these dudes have never been outside and actually challenged the environment like me and Dre say it all the time. But these dudes, they just want to fit in. They just want to fit in. And the sad part is it's just they're lost in the dark and lost in the sauce. That was my issue with 2.0 and 3.0 Manosphere. And what I didn't like about them, it's the same dumbass shit I see right now on Art's channel. It's very telling. This is why Kevin's probably sit back and laugh in this shit. He said, you know what? How can I work with these guys? And they screaming and cussing each other, like saying, you're not talking about this over here. Other people is trying to be highbrow over here. And next thing you know, your followers is just snap out. They don't want to see all this stuff. Because over time, when the women start cracking down on them, they don't want to hear all this stuff. They don't want to hear all this stuff. Like quiet is kept, you know, because that stuff is played out. I mean, we understand. And yeah, man, he's a prime example. You don't try to mess that up, but he made a decision. To me, he made a decision, and then he chose to side. Said, "Look, I'm gonna do business. If you're gonna work with me like this way, and that's it." But that was his main goal. But I knew he was different than everybody else, and I don't want to say he's a plant, but that's just what he was, you know. Because he studied how the space is, but he figured out one thing: you can't trust nobody that ain't really serious about shit if they really ain't about nothing. So what he did there, his actions tells me a lot. It ain't what he says, it's his actions. I mean, this dude is swift. I mean, I'm like, damn, y'all let this dude get away, but you had it. Y'all was cool, and you had problems
Figured
with
out the cheat code.
Yeah.
The YouTube cheat code, and now you hear all the grumpies, you know, rumbling about it.
Right. Absolutely.
And they were
He didn't use a cheat code. He just knew that the dudes he was dealing with was suckers.
No, that's not true. You know why?
No,
you know how he used the cheat code? Because he changed his entire personality and background about 6 times. Okay.
No, I know that they're suckers because
I'm not saying they're not suckers.
This was on BGS channel. This had to be maybe 3 years ago. I called Kevin Samuels out. He was in the chat. Angry Man and quite a few folks was on the panel. I was on the panel, and I called him out. Everybody on that panel called me out for talking about him. He was in the chat talking about, let me get in. BGS threw his shot at me, and that was the reason why I stopped going over there. Because the thing was, all them damn jokers were suckers to believe that Kevin Samuels was what he was projecting. And I know I can't be the only person that's seeing this here. We got all these so-called
but then there's a big but here. The person, the entire, not only the platform, the message, the target, his whole entire life story, everything was entirely different 3 years ago when you're talking about than it is now. Yeah. And that wasn't the first remake, and it wasn't and this one isn't the most recent. What I'm saying is he keeps changing. Okay, what he came out with and what he started with. Okay, everything about it, from who he is, where he was born, what he's about, what he does now, what his focus is, how he's going to accomplish it, blah 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 blah. All of that has radically changed, and this is why we're saying he found the cheat code, because he just changed one thing at a time to see what worked and what didn't. And as soon as he hit on something that started to work a little bit, then he knew, okay, well, now from here, what do I need to do? Oh, I have to get something to go viral. I gotta have this. I gotta show them this. I gotta this. And he just figured that out from changing himself over and over and over and over again. Because the fact of the matter is, it's not the fact that the manosphere is supporting him. The manosphere can support everybody. At most, they're going to get 100,000 followers. It's not that big. The black manosphere is not that big of a space. You cannot get millions of followers from the black manosphere. So it doesn't matter what the black manosphere thinks. It's his ability to reach outside of the black manosphere and understand that while he does need kind of like their core support, or he did initially, that's not your goal. Your goal is not to get their support. Your goal is to get the mainstream support. Your goal is to get the support and the attention of everyone outside of them. And that's all he's done. The whole time he's tried to figure out how to accomplish that goal, because he used to say it on his channel. Black people don't support black people. Black people don't pay for shit. Black men are cheap. He used to say it all the time. Even like the fact that he's now talking to black women, I knew he was going to do that. You know why? Because he knew that black men don't pay for things, but black women will. If you can convince a black woman that you actually have the key to something, they will pay you for it. A black man will demand it for free from another black man. He used to talk about this stuff on his channel. So that's why we say
Yes.
he has a cheat code. That's, it's not about people being suckers or not. It's
Yeah.
about what was his tactic, and can you actually? I can spell it out for you because I watched him do it.
Yep.
For
Right,
6
but
years,
you
I
know,
watched
but
him do it.
yeah, but the
Facts.
thing is, if he was actually dealing with an audience that had actually lived a life or lived a life and can accept where they are at that stage of life, there's nothing wrong with where you are right now. A lot of people would have seen through that stuff, but he's talking to an audience that's not satisfied with where they are and they want to become something, and they want to become a fantasy. It's like you're not going to become this fantasy. You are what you are, and you're doing a great job. You're where you're supposed to be at in this stage of life. You're doing well. Put in more work and slowly move to the next stage. There's nothing wrong with where you are. There's nothing wrong with you.
Listen. I'm gonna say this right here.
You are doing well.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. From a person of your age and speaking from that, right? You're talking from a point of you have other things that you're doing, but you have accomplished some things, right? His audience is the 40 and under, right? And the 40 and under are only thing he's doing is parroting what is being pushed in your face every day. Every time you turn on the television, there's a new car. The new 2022 model came out. Don't you want this? Lease with the option to buy. Don't you want this house for like 14 to 17% on the interest rate? We at Linden Tree can get you in a new home. Don't you want to move out of your rental property into this big white picket fence? Oh, don't you want to go to this college? Don't you want to go to Harvard and Yale and be in $300,000 of student loan debt? Don't you want to do this? See, that's the point of selling things, right? The part of capitalism, basically, this country is built off of you're not good enough. You need to level up. So he took that piece, right, and he put a little twang on it. You know what the twang is? The trauma bonding experience that the only business that's only successful in the black community is some religious shit.
Yep.
He's nothing but a storefront preacher in a nice suit. But he knows that men ain't gonna buy that, so he gets women up there because he did it with the men first. He brought the men up there to try to critique them, and they wasn't buying it. I remember where he would show up late to his streams because Char used to mod for him, right? He even contacted me to help him to set up his streams the right way because I do film and stuff like that, right? Now, me and him got some problems on business-wise, but I know how to keep a clear head and don't let my personal feelings get in the way of judgment when it comes down to business making decisions because it's cutthroat, right? And he's operating in a way of this is how the whole industry operates. You just happen to sit on a panel next to him a couple of years ago. So you get to see what it is behind
you're saying I'm talking from the perspective of a guy who is in his stage of life. Like I just came out my mama's womb and was 56 years old. No, I had to progress through high school, college, not having anything, having a nickel, having a dime, and working my way up. And that includes taking some L's, taking a decent number of L's. But the thing is, what I try to talk to some dudes is understand that is just life. Focus on what needs to be taken care of. And if it's meant for you to be, you're going to get to those next stages. Worry about where you are now and try your best not to. If you're 3 steps forward, try not to take 3 steps back. Don't worry about the fact that you haven't taken 7. You're where you're supposed to be at. You're fine.
Okay, let me explain something to you, and I get it, right? I got 3 sons. You know, man. I got 3 sons. I'm working on. I got, and one of them married, and I got 2 grandkids. A third one's on the way. and I got a younger one that's about to be grown this year, right? You're 50 something, right? I'm in my 40s. I'm close. It's different, right? So you can tell that to me, and I understand exactly what you're saying. But this generation, they grew up with internet.
Okay,
Okay,
how many children do I have?
dude, you said one.
Okay, so what are you talking about? This
This
generation,
generation,
I'm dealing with the damn generation.
dude, I'm talking about this generation. I'm talking about the 20-year-olds. I'm talking about the 25-year-olds, right?
Okay,
The
how
way
old
that
is
you're
my son?
talking. How old is
How
your
old is
son?
my
Go ahead.
son?
Go ahead, tell me. How old
29.
is he? 29. 29. I'm talking about the 20 years old. 20-year-old. He
How
damn
many
near
how many
30.
how many grandchildren do I have?
How many grandchildren you got? Tell me.
I have one. She's 6 months old.
She's 6 months old. He's 29 years of age, right? So when was he born?
92.
92. I'm talking about kids that were born in the 2000s. Pay attention. Pay attention.
No. You was fading out. I didn't catch what you were saying.
Yes. I'm telling you.
No. You said something. You said something, but you was fading out. I didn't catch what you said.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you, right, is that this generation that I'm talking about as of now, the ones that are taking over, the ones that are quoting this man, right, the ones that are quoting him, the 20-year-olds, the 18, the 19s, the ones that are below the age of 25, right, they're listening to him. If you told me what you just told me, and I'm the age that I am, I can get what you're saying because I grew up being taught by those people, my grandmamas and all of those, and the aunties and those of that nature, right? When grandma was grandma, right? When Big Mama didn't work, when Big Mama would watch and raise all the grandkids, they didn't grow up with that, right? So they're different. So the way that we have to convey to these children isn't the same. You don't see kids working part-time jobs when they hit 14 and 15 and 16 in summer jobs. It's grown adults working those part-time jobs to make ends meet. The kids are stuck in the house. The computers are raising the children. They can't get those life experiences. So when they get 20 years of age, they just out in the world. And the only thing that they keep hearing all day is you got to get this. You got to get this. So if you telling them that, they ain't listening to that. They want to know how to get it. You have a child sitting in a house working on the internet that his parents are paying for, making more money than their parents being on the internet playing video games. Tell me how that works, Sway. Because that's the way
Okay.
the world is set up. The world is
Facts.
different. The world
Okay.
is different now.
You said you was raised in Baltimore. Am I correct?
Yes, I was raised in Baltimore.
And I know during your time in Baltimore, back when you was a preteen, a teenager, and an older teenager,
Mhm.
it was about making that money, getting the car, living the dream.
Right?
Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Yes.
So did you fall for that, or you was like, look, all that flash looks good, but I need to do it a certain way because that flash comes with a price, and I don't want to pay that price.
I'm gonna tell you what happened. There was a older man that took me underneath his wing and said, "You got to eat, young man. You out on the street homeless. Hold this pack down and work that block. And then I'm gonna make sure you straight." And then my junior and senior year of high school, I didn't have to work the block because I already took my SAT and I got accepted to colleges. And he saw something in me. That was my OG. Matter of fact, you might know who he is. He was on the wire. His name was Avon Barksdale.
I didn't watch The Wire.
Well, you need to go watch and educate yourself.
Nah, I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, see, there you go, right there. You don't want to learn nothing. You can't learn nothing. Nobody's younger than you, right?
Can I say something?
Maybe because I grew up in that life where I don't need to go back and watch something that's on television.
But here's the thing. I think, can I say something? Because y'all, I don't know, y'all are very some. There's some energy between y'all today. So I want to add something here really quick. Okay. Here's the thing. And sometimes I think there's a lack of understanding, right? Miscommunication between younger generations and older generations, right? Because older generations have gone through, they've gotten their scars, they've gotten their wisdom, they've gotten their, education from the street of hard knocks, from wherever. And, now they can look back with hindsight and talk about, no, this was dumb and this was smart. So do the smart thing, right? But here is where, from my generation and younger, things are different. Is that for those of us who listen to the old school and we're following the old school, right? Suddenly we were near adulthood or just starting adulthood and the entire planet changed. And now all of a sudden the things that were guaranteed keys to success, and I just mean the way that you comport yourself, the way you go out there to get a job, right? The way you hold yourself in a job, what's priority and what's not, suddenly changed very radically. Okay. And not only did that change, but along with a bunch of other social things changed again very radically, right? Whereas in when I was born, right, if you were a whore when I was born, that guaranteed you were never getting a spouse, right? No one wants to marry the neighborhood mattress. Now, whores are getting multi-billion-dollar contracts and having men flock to marry them, right? Things have changed. And what ended up happening invariably is a lot of people, the very large majority of people, got left in the dust. And so now they are looking at my generation. These young people, the 20-year-olds, are looking at my generation, right? The 30s, nearing 40s generation. And they're seeing that we are failing. We are doing worse than the generation before us. We are the first generation in the history of all time to do worse than the generation that preceded us, okay? And so they're seeing we can't find love. We can't find sex. We can't find marriage. We can't find stability. We can't find homes. We can't find anything we're supposed to be able to find. Okay. And we are angry. We're frustrated. We're blaming people. What we're not doing is learning a damn thing. We're trying to, right? Because we're so busy trauma bonding and trying to justify why it is our lives are the way that they are. Now, these young people are coming up and they are seeing us and they don't want to be us. Okay. That's what they know. They don't know what that exactly means. They just know they don't want to be us. So when someone from your generation, right, not from the failure generation, from the generation before it, comes out and tells them anything, they are almost guaranteed to listen as long as it addresses their concerns, their main concerns, right? And what are their current main concerns for the young men? The young men's main concerns are this. Doesn't matter how fat or ugly or whorish or anything that this chick is, she has sky-high standards. She thinks she deserves the world. And what's more important is he doesn't think he'll ever be able to provide it because no one has ever told him how. Okay. And so in essence, then just living, just doing the best you can is going to guarantee you're going to be an incel forever. And that's the last thing they want because, you know, dudes want to be able to sleep with someone, but they also want a wife. They also want a family. They also want that sense of purpose and drive. They want to be grounded and become men. Right. And they have no idea how to do that. They think they need a woman for that because the last 20 years, that's what they've been taught is you want to become a man, you want to be grounded, you got to find a woman first. Right. And they can't find a woman because they're also being told that any woman, doesn't matter who she is, wants someone who's not him. Okay. So what you've got in essence is a very, very largely confused, angry, trauma-filled generation who is being constantly inundated, again, for the first time in the history of our planet, being constantly inundated left, right, and center with new messages and ideas about how they're failing, about why they're failing, about how everyone else is failing, about why everything's impossible, about like it's never ending. It's never ending the amount of notifications that are coming to your phone. You know, then you gotta stay up front as far as you gotta check your Instagram, then Facebook, then YouTube, and this and that. It's an information overload. It's a choice overload, right? And they've proven in psychology that the more choices you give someone, the harder it is to make a choice at all, and the harder it is for you to be satisfied with any choice. And actually, we have a lot of psychology to prove that, you know, the situation that people are in right now because of the information overload, you know, a lot of it has to do with being spoiled with choice. So I think the biggest problem is, right, is that when you weren't born and raised in this generation, millennial or generation Z thing. So you have like the common sense and the grounding, you know, proper brought up seat. So you're looking at all this stuff from the outside looking in, right? You're not wrong.
Incorrect.
Really?
Because everything that I'm hearing now about what the millennials are being exposed to is the same thing I heard that the Gen Xers was exposed to. Before it was music, television, radio, and now it's the internet.
No, that was fear mongering. It was different.
And before,
but that was fear mongering.
Oh, wait a minute. But before it was Gen Xers have too many options. And then I'm hearing the same thing with with millennials.
Actually,
They have too many
the too many
options.
options thing. Yeah, the too many options thing is actually an increasing problem in modern society, and you can actually see the impact of that in modern society over the last several hundred years. You can actually see the problem. So that's thing number one, right? But thing number two is this: there's always been a lot of fear mongering regarding music and media, right? So every time music gets updated, now there's a beat. Oh, that's devil worship, right? So you have to actually separate fear mongering and assumptions and whatever from actual research. And I'm referring to actual research on human
Okay, I have
behavior,
a
human
question. I have a
psychology.
question. I have a question. I have a question. These
Mhm.
options, what are these new options that people have now?
Okay, so take away the internet, right? Pretend we're back in the 1970s. Okay, so what
Wait,
were
wait,
your
wait, wait, wait.
options?
Why the 70s? Why can't we do the 80s and 90s?
It's
Because
her
people,
analogy. Let her do it her way.
well, because I want to take away as much technology as possible. I had a computer, you know, and people had cell phones and stuff like that. I know America got that stuff a little bit before we did, so I don't know exactly
Okay,
when the internet.
how about we take it to the 50s then? If you're gonna do
Okay,
the
it really
70s,
doesn't
let's take it to
matter.
the 50s.
Sure, cool. So let's go to the 50s then, right? Um, in general, and this is just in general, right? If you
Even though I didn't
grew
experience
up,
the 50s, but we'll go to the 50s.
it really doesn't matter because once you get before the internet, there's a before the internet and after the internet for the point I'm going to make. Okay. So now, before the internet, if you wanted to talk to a girl, you wanted to get a date with a girl, you would have to meet her in person, right? You would have to come across her, say hello, hi, my name's Jack, nice to meet you. You know, and then from there maybe be able to get her phone number or maybe get her address to show up and ask to court her, you know, depending on what generation it is. But the point is that the people that were in your dating pool literally lived within maybe maximum 10 city blocks from you, right? So your options for who you could possibly date and therefore who you could possibly marry were very limited in comparison to today's world, where all you got to do is go onto any internet platform, including this one, and you have millions of people at your fingertips. They don't live anywhere near you. They're not accessible at all and whatever, but guess what? You can speak to them. They look like a possibility now. You can scroll through all of those pictures, right? You don't even have to talk to people or come across them. All you have to do is come across their damn picture. Even if you're on Tinder trying to look within 10 city blocks, you can see every goddamn woman, period, and go through all her pictures and swipe, 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 swipe. Whereas in before, it was like, no, did you cross her path? If you didn't cross her path, you don't even know she exists, let alone for you to think she's an option. Okay, so just look at just the difference between being inundated with a choice of 100,000 women versus the maybe 25, maybe 30 you walked by, right? It's a massive difference. And then not only that, but then you can keep fine tuning your search results, right? So you can now not just look for a blonde girl because you happen to like blonde girls, but you can look for one who also likes anal and who has a big butt and who has triple D's and who really likes BDSM and who can cook and clean. And I mean, like literally, it's mind-boggling how many different options you can look for, and you can keep limiting it, and you can keep limiting it, and every time you swipe, there's going to be another face. And so, you know what? Maybe the next face will be better than this face. Maybe the next ass will be better than this ass. Maybe the next sex will be better than this sex, right? And so the problem is that when there's always another option, there's always billions more options. It makes it very difficult. And they've been doing this in studies for decades. It makes it very difficult for you to make a choice at all, and it makes it very difficult for you to actually be satisfied with your choice. In fact, it doesn't even have to go from 30 to millions. They've proven that if they show somebody three paintings, right, and they choose the one that they like the most, let's say they like painting A the most, and then they get mailed painting C, that person will not remember the difference between painting A and painting C. They'll think that painting C was the one that they picked, and they're going to love it. They're going to be very satisfied with their choice, even though they got sent the wrong painting. But as soon as you up that, as soon as you double it and you make it 6 paintings, people have a much harder time making a choice. And even if you send them the right painting, they're a lot more likely to be unhappy with the decision. So, I mean, it's not like, it doesn't have to be astronomical. It's literally in human psychology that the more options we have, the harder it is for us to make a decision and the harder it is for us to be satisfied with that decision we make.
Right, but here's the deal. Maybe my opinion on this is a little skewed because I grew up in a city with 5 million plus people in it at that time,
Hmm.
and because the fact that I've had a chance to live multiple cities, multiple states, United States, from what I've seen with my experience in my era, we've always had options. Unless you're from Pumpkin Seed, Mississippi, then yeah, you might be in a town with 3,000 people, 4,000 people, 10,000. Your options is a little bit limited. But when you start talking about the larger cities, there's always options. And when you start having a little bit of money, some type of transportation, your options seem to kind of increase because of your capability of being able to travel. And then you have the people that relocate. They go from Chicago, end up in Miami, up in Atlanta, end up in Dallas. Now you got another set of options.
Yeah, but the amount of people, first of all, that relocate, whether we're talking about now or before, are definitely the minority. B, again, we already know, right, that the richer you start off with, the more people you're going to run through before trying to make a decision. Why? Because you're spoiled with options, and you know what? There's always something better around the corner, and you can afford it. But guess what? And this is across the world. The poorer you are, the less options you have, and you know it because you can't afford more options. So you are a lot more likely to settle down with something decent that comes your way, right? Because it is the best option for you if you're dead ass poverty broke and a wife actually settles down with you. So now you got two people working instead of one. That is a better option for you than you trying to go it alone. It is. So they will choose a wife quickly. Whereas in the richer they are, the more likely it is that they're just going to have a bunch of mistresses, right? Eventually they might settle down with a wife, but then they're going to have a bunch of mistresses because they can afford to keep adding to the options that they're exploring, right? So, I mean, even with that, you've always seen the difference. You can see the difference worldwide, right? Now, when you're in a city of 10 million people, that simply means that instead of you being limited and you're within your, dating pool or age category to the people you went to high school with, right? There might be in a city of 1 million, let's say that there are 300,000 eligible people for you to date as far as age category. Of course, some of those people will be married, but fine, right? Now, out of those 300,000, how many of them do you think you, not only as far as your travels versus their travels, right? Not only considering the fact that the human brain can only pay attention to and retain so much, how many of those 300,000 women do you think that you can possibly be aware of if the way that you are being aware of them only is limited to when you cross paths with them?
If you have a whole hopping mindset, your mind your capability is limited. It is unlimited.
That's actually not true at all.
But
Are you sure about that?
Yes,
hold on.
150%.
But
That's not how human attention works, or memory, for that matter.
Can I say something real quick? I can sum this up real quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up when the TV went off. Literally, you can be up, but you're just looking at the RGB or the static after the national anthem came in.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
guys have an anthem too?
Oh,
We
I
have the
remember.
anthem with the flag playing. Yeah.
I couldn't stand that sound. Dun,
I
Right?
dun,
know.
dun. I'm like, oh no.
And then I remembered one day when I decided to stay up late, right? Snuck up, turned the TV on. It was still on. And
Mhm.
you know what? At 12 o'clock, Benny Hinn was on. I used to watch him, right? Running around chasing the little women and stuff and doing all the little weird, nasty jokes, right? And then it was infomercials and then the 1-800 numbers and all of the weird stuff. And then it became the advent of cable television. Then I remembered calling a county from Baltimore City to Baltimore County was long distance. There was a lady named Murphy Brown, and Sprint was a long distance company, a dime a minute. I remember that. And then I remembered that they changed all the area codes nationwide. So calling within the same state was no longer long distance anymore. I remember call waiting, caller ID, three-way. right? That was your coming of age thing. You got a driver's license, and you got your own phone line, and you got three-way. I remember talking to your friends and knowing all the numbers in your head of your
Mm-hmm.
family members and
Yes.
your friends,
Right.
right?
Everyone.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Matter of fact, I remember the first thing that I had to learn how to do was know my social security number when I got to a certain age, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You, right now, if you walk up to a young person under the age of 25 and ask them what their social security number off the top of their head, more than likely they really can't tell you. You used to have to walk around and carry your social security card in your wallet as another form of identification.
Yep.
I remember that,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't do that anymore, right? They don't have to do that anymore. Matter of fact, driver's licenses used to be one way, and they used to have under the age of whatever for the provisional license because you couldn't drive at 16 over a certain time in certain states. I remember a lot of things when I was growing up. I remember having a black book. I remember getting a phone number. Matter of fact, walking around with extra change in my pocket so I could use the payphone. Go find a payphone. I dare you. See, it's a generation that don't even know how to use payphones without a calling card, right? Everything is right now. I remember ordering something in the back of a magazine and waiting 3 months to get it. Amazon is overnight. Matter of fact, the same day, depending on what time you order it. Guess what? I remember you had to catch a taxi, but you can call an Uber, which we would call hacks, which was illegal taxi drivers in the hood. We used to put your finger out there on the curb and they used to come through. Or you had to have a special number to call this old man that was retired with the Cadillac that would come pick you up and take you to a location for a set fee. Now there's $1 million industry called Uber that's making money off of that same idea that black people had to do back in the day, right? See, people don't need to use or go on trips. They don't need a roadmap no more. They don't need to have the AAA thing, right? Now, what happens now is you get on Google Maps, you GPS it, you put the phone right there. There are children that grew up like this. And if you're telling them you can be good where you're at, you know what they hear from a person at your stage of life? You're trying to hold and keep them down. You don't want them to be great. You don't want them to be better. Because guess what? You're only talking to them for 5 minutes versus the rest of the world got their attention for, for the 12 or 8 hours that they're not sleeping or using the toilet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
But at the
things are
end of the
different.
day, but at the end of the day, the core of consequences and rewards does not change, no matter how the window dressing is.
But
If
what
you
and, and I
if you do something, if you commit a crime, no matter if you
right.
committed a crime in the 1940s, 2010, if you're going to get caught, you're going to end up
Mm-hmm,
doing some time, and the consequences of that, of you doing time, is
mm-hmm.
going to affect you.
Yeah, no one's
Um,
disagreeing with that. What I'm basically saying is that whole grab the pebble out of my hand thing that y'all used to tell us when we were young, we understood the context of that. They don't even understand the hand, the pebble, or anything. You have to be very specific and you can't talk to them. So that's why it's my job, people that's a little bit older than me job, to talk to the younger generation, and you're just supposed to advise us. You don't talk to them directly.
Also, also, I gotta say for the record, I do actually disagree a little bit. I understand why it should be so, but the fact of the matter is that, again, you go back decades, right? Well, what was the payoff of being a scammer or a drug dealer versus the payoff of being a scammer or a drug dealer today? And risk versus reward. Because the thing is that back then, it's not like you didn't have women who would deal with these unsavory characters and whatnot, some ride or die chicks and whatnot, right? But now you've got women, which is absolutely insane, who would prefer to deal with a scammer, right, and a drug dealer before the 9 to 5 guy, right? So again, consequences, the consequence legally, right, is still the same. Fine, fair enough. Well, it's not exactly the same. It depends, right? Because they were locking people up for 500 years for having like a rock before, right? Which they can't do now in most states. But anyway, but the point is that okay, consequence is still the same. It's illegal. You're going to go to jail. But then it's the cost to benefit ratio. that has changed, right? There was always some cost, there was always some benefit, but does the ratio change from generation to generation or from year to year? And I would suggest that, yeah, no, it has definitely changed in, you know, the 21st century as far as what people think they're going to get immediately and long term from, you know, not committing those crimes, from not being a scammer, from going to university and getting an education, and so on and so forth, right? Like the payoff, most of us, right, my generation again, we were still being sold on, if you just get that little piece of paper from college, you're good, you're set for life, right? And then most of us got out of university, and all we have is a massive amount of of debt, right? Of school loans, and we're still working the same damn customer service jobs and whatnot that we would have had if we had never gone to university. It's just now we have an extra $30,000 to $100,000 in debt. So, you know, again, cost to benefit ratio, right? It is actually different now. Things have shifted. Priorities have shifted. People have been laid off. They were good, dedicated workers, right? And they're losing their jobs because why? Because technology has advanced and they're no longer needed. I mean, we can't say that, you know, the world and the way that things are in the world is the same, because it's not.
Okay, now
And
are we comparing baby boomers to millennials?
it's not just to millennials. It's like I said, to my generation and younger, really, right? So millennials, Zoomers, whatever the hell comes under Zoomers.
You know, the reason why I asked that is you're saying all this, but you don't. Okay, yes, in Pumpkin Seed, Arkansas, Pumpkin Seed, Mississippi, maybe some out of the nowhere place in Dallas, in Texas. Okay, we can speak on that. But a lot of the larger cities, L.A., Chicago, New York, Philly, you name it, the largest cities. What you just talked about is exactly what was going on in those places. Now, I wasn't raised in the 50s. I wasn't raised in the 60s. My time was the late 70s into the 80s before I went to college and graduated in 87. But still, hell, my father was a drug dealer. My father was a pimp. My father was a con artist. But
So
the thing is,
respectfully, what you're saying is,
wait a minute. The reason why he got out of that was because dudes were getting killed, the drug dealers were getting killed, the pimps are getting killed, folks are getting locked up left and right. So the consequences are still the same if you're in that game.
but sir, you didn't answer the thing that I said.
If you're in that game,
No, but sir, you're just repeating what I said.
Your
But you're just
time is
repeating what I
going.
said. You're repeating what I said, though. I agreed with that. I agreed with that.
But your time is going to be up.
Right, but I agreed with you there. And I said those consequences are still the same. I agreed with you. So you're arguing a point I didn't make. I agreed with you there.
You try to make the argument as if the consequences is not as
no,
great.
sir, I did not. What I said, no, sir, that's not what I said, and I'm trying to clarify that for you because you obviously misunderstood. I'm gonna repeat for you what the point I made, which is not that the costs are different. They're not. I said the cost to benefit ratio is different, as in the benefits have increased. So therefore, the cost to benefit ratio has changed. As in, the majority of women back then, the majority of all women did not prefer dealing with scammers and drug dealers. That was not the majority of women. However, the majority of women now prefer dealing with scammers and drug dealers over the 9-to-5 guy. Okay?
No, they don't.
So that's what I'm saying.
Not the majority. You can say a
majority.
If you say a segment, that's fair, but you can't say a majority.
They've done several. I'm not even talking about just the Black community. For the record, I'm not talking about the Black community. I'm talking about women in general. Because here's the problem, right? Fast money, status, clout. That is a drug, and that is more important. These younger